Hey, boisterous big screen brethren! You're listening to the 6th sensually satisfying episode of Don't Spill the Popcorn!
My name is Dylan.
And I'm Mojo Jojo.
Before I get going, speaking of Mojo Jojo, the same guy that does the Scream voice also does the voice for Mojo Jojo. Just wanted to throw that out there.
God, do you just want a fucking Scream podcast, Dylan?
Dude.
You want to just leave this podcast and do your stupid Scream podcast?
We are still on. We'll cover Scream one day. Watch it. I'll just talk shit about it.
Oh, maybe.
Like the whole time, I was like, this sucks. This is stupid.
That'd be a good twist. I like twists.
We're two independent filmmakers who have worked together many years, here to bring you honest, critical, and enjoyable movie reviews on exclusively new films only.
That's right, Dylan. And you can currently reach us with any comments, concerns, or corrections at don'tspillthepopcorn@gmail.com or on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages. The perfect directory to find us everywhere is actually from our website, don'tspillthepopcorn.buzzsprout.com. All of our episodes are live on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and more. And if you enjoy this movie review podcast, which we really hope that you do, we would like if you would support us and back us up monetarily. And you can pledge and help us starting as low as $5 on our Patreon at patreon.com/don'tspillthepopcorn. For the lowest pledge, which I had just said there, you will get early access to every released episode that we do, as long as, things go well and we're being timely and shit, because here we are a month later, folks. So if you do that, the last thing I did want to say, other than the early access, is you will also get a shout out on the next episode. So that would be pretty neat, because we want to give you a personal thank you.
And that's for only $5?
That is $5, Dylan. Yes, just $5.
Wow, what a deal.
You can cancel as much as you want. You can cancel it. You can join and cancel as much as you want. But yeah, you're able to cancel at any time. And it is a very safe and secure platform, so you don't have to worry about anybody coming in and stealing your information.
Today, we are finally talking about Fear Street, Part 3, 1666. And this is the spoiler-free section, and like I said before in the other ones, that we will get to the spoiler section. We will give you a little warning, but we like to talk a little spoiler-free first, so anybody who has not watched the film yet can listen in.
It's only fair.
Let's talk about the news.
Put on our swimming caps, our fucking goggles, our Speedos. Hope you shaved.
I always shave.
Because that Speedo's tight, baby, as we dive into the news section. Welcome to the news, my friends. It's good to be here. As you will notice, I definitely sound a little weird. I don't sound quite like myself, maybe a little nasally, maybe a little drippy. I sound yucky, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But I do want to get right into the news, right into it, because we have lots and lots to talk about, and who knows how long we'll be here, because we usually go on for a while. So right off the top of the news section, Scarlett Johansson's agent calls Disney's response to the Black Widow lawsuit, in case you haven't heard about that yet, a shameless and false attack on Johansson's character. Before I even say anything about this, Dylan, I did want to hear if you've been keeping up with that, if you've seen anything about it, and if you have any feelings on that before I kind of read into what's going on.
I don't know much about what's going on with Scarlett Johansson, but if it's anything like Emma Stone, like the same, have you heard about her too?
Well, actually,
with Cruella?
So I'll go on, because this is actually where Emma Stone got the idea to even be doing what she's doing in the first place, which I doubt she's going to do, which I'll get into that after I'm done.
Okay, yeah, you go ahead and tell me then, because I do not know the whole story.
So Scarlett Johansson's agent responds to Disney's statement about the Black Widow lawsuit and calls it, just a straight up attack on the actress's character. After she spent a decade in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, she was finally given the chance to star in her solo movie. That's a pretty big deal. You know what I mean? When you're, especially in the Marvel Universe, you know, everybody, every character, especially because of the age that we're in now, everyone's waiting for that moment to shine. Am I going to get that solo movie? Am I going to get, you know, am I going to become one of the big stars? Like, I mean, everybody already loved her and her character, but when you get put at the top of the when you're the headliner, you know what I mean? That really generates some crazy buzz, and that can make you living from a very comfortable life to an extraordinary life. You know what I mean? Like something like that can be very dramatic for an actor or actress like that. So I can understand why there would be the excitement to do that. And, you know, COVID doing its thing, repeatedly delayed plans to release the movie, and ultimately led to this big change where Disney did that thing that they've been doing, goes ahead and puts their shit at Premier Access. You know, that cuts out the potential of what they can reach in the box office dramatically. So Disney Plus gives the premiere title the same time that it hit the theaters. So it didn't even give it a chance to have people go see it in the theaters first and then watch it on Disney Plus, which would have been a lot better, you know, resulting in the global opening weekend of it's like what 215 million, with 60 million coming from Disney Plus alone. While audiences mostly enjoyed Black Widow, it has revealed that not everyone is happy with the rollout, and Johansson very reasonably sued Disney as a result of the digital and theatrical rollout. I just can't blame her for that. I think that was a really dirty move. You know, the lawsuit that is held up against Disney specifically claims that her contract included a mandate for an exclusive theatrical run, that the limited box office performance would result in the star losing like $50 million in potential earnings, instead of quietly settling the dispute. Disney surprisingly issued a strong statement that cited Johansson's $20 million paycheck and said it was sad and distressing in the light of the effects of COVID. So, I mean, you know, coming from a small person's perspective, you know, talking about that kind of money, it's like, well, you already got millions of dollars. Why do you need millions of more dollars? You know, it's hard to look beyond that. But at the same time, that is what they signed up for. That is what they were offered. That's what they're supposed to be getting. And I think realistically, you know, put the ego and the envy and all that stuff aside and just thinking objectively about this situation, you know, I think that whatever Disney is doing with that is cruel, and I think that it is unfair. And, you know, I think as a company, me personally, you know, just speaking for myself here, they definitely lose a good chunk of my respect for pulling some shit like that. You know what I mean? As a company, I think I would like to think that actual Walt Disney, I don't know shit about Walt Disney. Maybe he's one of those crazy billionaires that's part of doing all that crazy ritual shit with all those other billionaires in the woods and shit like that. But
I heard he wasn't the best either. I heard he wasn't the best person either.
Okay, well, you know, it is. I'm not surprised, but just as a company, it's just another one of those things where it's like, it just is gross. And it just like, you know, stated, it is sad and distressing, but not in the way that they're saying that it is, because they're trying to say, oh, well, the times are the times. Sorry, guys.
But here's the thing. That's what's annoying, is because the fact that they're saying that, as in like, okay, well, we're all taking a hard hit on this, but really, they're not really taking a hard hit. They're making millions and millions of dollars, and they're probably making just as much or more because of the online, like, because people can still watch online and have nothing else to do. So it's really upsetting. It's really upsetting. I don't care how much money it really is. The fact of it is like, you write it up this way. This is where these people are expecting these extra earnings, but you're not giving it to them when you're getting all this extra stuff. And you just want to cry and make it about yourself as well. It's just, whatever. It's just really, really annoying.
Yeah. It's not about the numbers. It's about the principle and the respect.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And just the integrity of the company, for sure. And I can't say for sure if Paramount Plus is pulling the same shit. I haven't seen anything about them, Paramount pulling that kind of thing. But that's what I was getting to about Emma Stone, was after Emma Stone saw this, obviously the same kind of thing happened with Cruella. and she didn't even put two and two together. I don't even think it was a part of her contract to have that, make sure that it wasn't exclusively limited to a box office performance. But considering that, I saw that, and you shared to me about them giving Cruella 2 the green light and her signing on and all that shit. I really don't think that she moved forward with that. I think that was kind of I think that they laid it down and they're like, listen,
I don't think so either.
if you want to move on with this, you got to keep your fucking mouth shut about this and don't stir the pot. Look what's happening to her. She can't be shit. Scarlett Johansson's character is going to be given to somebody else now. She's not going to have the opportunity to play that role anymore. And if you want the same thing to happen to you,
wait, is that what you said?
No, that's what's happening.
It is happening for sure.
That's what's happening. She is no longer allowed to be associated because she's doing this lawsuit. She will no longer be associated with Marvel and the Marvel Universe.
Oh my God. And then that's another thing you have to think. Is it worth doing this lawsuit, even though you're getting fucked in the end? But like in the long run of doing multiple movies after this, you can make even more.
Well, that's how they silence that. That's how they get you to sit down.
Yep. Well, I'm glad that she's making a stand then.
She'll probably do this one time. She'll probably, I mean, maybe, who knows? These people have a lot of power. They have a lot more opportunities. So who knows? Maybe she'll always stand up for herself. I hope that she does. But it's situations like that where they try to hover over you and they're like, listen, as much as you want to try to fight for your shit, I'll just give you the boot completely, and then there's, a potential, a whole career right there. She has a lifetime of potential there to be able to stay in the Marvel universe. And now, as long as nothing changes, she's out of that now. That is no longer.
That's a shame. That's a shame. It makes Disney look really, really nasty, which I already knew they had a nasty streak. They're probably one of the nastiest companies, but yeah.
When you wish upon a star.
It makes no difference who you are.
Yeah, they'll fuck you up no matter what.
Exactly.
Jesus. Only it don't spill the popcorn. So to continue on through the news, getting on through that shitty shit right there. The Army of the Dead opening credits text strangely disappears on Netflix. And this is my fucking conspiracy, my friend. I think that they heard us. I swear on my life.
That's just gonna say that.
I swear. I think that they heard us. I think that they knew that we felt that way about the text and how ugly and stupid it was, because I didn't see any other motherfuckers say anything about the opening titles. Nobody. I didn't see anything about it because I clearly felt pretty strong about it. You felt fairly as strong as I did, but you didn't like something differently than me. You didn't like the spacing, but I just hated the whole thing altogether.
It's like, it all fucking sucks.
I'm searching online and shit, and I fucking find nothing about it. No comments until this, which somebody reported that they noticed, and I should have checked. I did not check. I didn't look. But the opening credits are apparently missing. They disappeared from the movie, so they must have removed it from the edit, re-rendered it, did all that fucking shit that you have to do, and sent it back in, re-uploaded it. And I'll just read in a little bit here as to what it says about what's going on with that. So here it said, it's hard to say exactly why the Army of the Dead opening titles text wouldn't suddenly disappear from Netflix, even though I think that we know why. It could be a glitch, as pointed out by the viewer who noticed the change. It could be someone, maybe even Snyder himself, that thought it would be fun to put up a version of the movie without the titles, which I guess I could see that, but I also feel like they didn't take up that much space, that they didn't really hide anything. You know what I mean? And they would have never I feel like they wouldn't have put titles over anything that they wanted to be seen anyway. At the very least, I would like to give them that. So there was at least one person replying to the original Twitter post, posting the textless version was actually an improvemental change. So perhaps it was a deliberate change, which is what I've been fucking saying this whole time. That was tried out and is now kind of meeting with some approval. And I feel so good knowing that I seriously feel like we spoke something out there, and because of this podcast, somehow something that was bad about a movie actually changed in the name of Don't Spill the Popcorn. I feel it in my soul, people. I feel it deep down inside that this happened. I swear, go back to episode 1, listen to that. It's right at the beginning. You don't even need to get that far in. Get past the news, and one of the first things that we say going into the general thoughts, or maybe the spoiler section, can't remember which, but we say something there, and it's wild. It's absolutely wild. I'm telling you, man, I don't know, maybe I'm crazy for feeling like this, but it just seems like such a coincidence that something like that would happen. I feel like now that we're in the podcaster world, we have more strength now than ever.
I mean, it's a possibility.
I'm power hungry, man.
But I'm
losing it. This is filling my ego tank, man.
Don't let it get to your head. But my question is,
spill your ego.
Where in the world? Okay, not where in the world, but if they were really listening to us, then we need to go back. I've never rewatched it, so I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch the credits. But if they were listening to us and everyone else, did they remove the dead pixels?
And I hope that they listen. I hope that they respond at don'tspillthepopcorn@gmail.com.
I'm done talking about Army of the Dead. But how in the world? It just keeps coming back. It just keeps coming back somehow. Every episode.
I know. Yeah. There's just, and that's the thing too, is like somehow that is still reigning as our number one listen.
People just like their zombie movies.
It has almost double the downloads of all the other ones that we have done. I mean, personally, we thought it was a nice, like, middle popcorn chewing, pretty visually approvable movie. You know what I mean? But other than that, I just don't see where all the hype is. Maybe people are still discovering it. Maybe that's all that it is people are still slowly discovering it.
Well, we'll find out. We'll see. Maybe we'll get more downloads and people will keep watching. Now that the credits aren't on there, people are going to be like, oh, shit, now I can finally watch this movie. It was all because of the credits. I didn't want to watch this movie.
Fucking victory, dude. Victory is ours. We did it. We did something. We made change. We made some positive change in the world.
Whatever makes you feel better, buddy.
on a major film. On a major fucking film.
I don't think that's what happened.
God damn it.
But we can pretend. Let's pretend. Let's put that energy out there.
That's where I've been at. I'm glad that you finally decided to hop on board. So go ahead, Dylan. Why don't you hit us with your little section of the news, which honestly is getting no better than the beginning of the news. Actually, this one disheartens me even more than the first section of the news.
Well, Aquaman 2 producer defends Amber Heard's return. It's best for the movie. Peter Safran says the protests against Amber Heard's Aquaman 2 casting were never going to work, as the producers would never react to pure fan pressure, which is kind of dumb. Like, yes, I understand not like changing so much to to what people are saying, but at the same time, if you're purely thinking of it as fan pressure, fans are what bring in the money. So if you don't have those fans by not making them what they, giving them what they want, then, I don't know. This is a very messy thing here because there's not a lot of information. There's not a lot of like 100% like pure evidence. So it's a lot of what he said, she said situation, and it just sucks because everyone has to be put in the middle of this now and try to figure out. But going on, for better or for worse, a popular online petition and social media movement for Amber Heard to be fired from Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom was never going to work. In the original Aquaman, which was directed by James Wan, love that guy, Amber Heard starred as Mira opposite Jason Momoa's Arthur Curry. All three are now on location in London, with production on the sequel officially underway. Leading up to the shoot, many Johnny Depp fans had been calling for Warner Brothers to have Amber Heard booted from the project. Nearly 2 million fans signed a petition on change.org. 2 million! That's insane. Demanding her firing.
How about doesn't change shit.org?
Yeah, it doesn't do anything. It's just shows, I mean, sometimes it does, but...
No, for sure. But in this instance, doesn't change shit.org. For sure.
But the petition was to get her to be fired. And on a consistent basis, the hashtag Justice for Johnny Depp has been trending on social media. This comes after Warner Brothers asked Johnny Depp to resign from Fantastic Beasts 3, as Depp's supporters believe that he's innocent of Heard's allegations that he'd abused her. Safran and the Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom team haven't just had their hands buried in the sand. They're fully aware of the controversy surrounding Heard's involvement in the sequel. Even so, Safran says Wan never once considered that to be an option, as they would never cater to pure fan pressure. Speaking on the Deadline Hero Nation podcast, Safran also said that what was best for the movie was Heard's return as Mira. So not much else matters beyond that, which that sounds so fucked up. Like,
that's fucked up. That is so if that's a direct quote, that is fucked up. Beyond belief. Nothing else matters. That surely shows where the mind is at with these things as far as all that's concerned. They're all involved, and it's clearly far beyond just pressure of fans. Obviously the internet has the abilities to create a lot of conspiracies and put information out there that's not accurate. And obviously the only way we would be in the know is if we actually spoke to other people that were in the know. But this is just one of those things where I do strongly believe that this is one of those opposite situations where, he was abused by her. I very truly believe that. And I think this whole situation, you don't have to share your opinion, but I truly believe that this situation is disgusting. And that's why I give Army of the Dead a lot of credit, because when they saw that there was something wrong, they did something about it, and it was just allegations, just this, no different than this, you know what I mean?
And they did it after the movie has been recorded, which is crazy. Like, they took her out, or took that guy out of Army of the Dead, like, way after it's been filmed, so it's insane. Yeah, this hasn't even been finished, and the allegations were there before they even started filming, so they had the opportunity. And it was the easiest it could have possibly have been for them. Yeah, and what doesn't make sense to me is the fact that Fantastic Beasts 3, Johnny Depp was kicked off of that, but she wasn't kicked off of Aquaman 2. I mean, but that's the thing, like, either way, like, say it was him doing it, or say it was her doing it, like, it's at the point now where they don't know who did it or didn't do, and if one has to, like, get in trouble for the situation and have to be out of a movie, then why isn't the other one, if they're in the same exact boat right now where who knows what really happened? Yeah. It's not fair.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things where it's like, I think just with all this controversy alone, they should have just been like, listen, both of you need to just be quiet for a while. If this shit, like, you can only let so much shit go public before you just need to kind of sit back and reevaluate your life and get things changed. I understand that it's hard to have the spotlight on your life all the time, especially for Johnny Depp, for pretty much, I don't know Amber Heard's, her story and all that, but Johnny Depp has been obviously doing this for ages, and he's had a really big spotlight on him his whole life. So I can just only imagine, and I think that is a big reason too as to why he's just staying as quiet as he is about it. I don't blame him. I don't think that he has to come forward and say anything, but I also think that that's where, the fans felt like they needed to take the responsibility to try to do something about this, and try to make the change if he's not going to do anything about it. So who knows? But unfortunately, it looks like this is going to be something that continues, and I'm curious to see how it affects the poll, and if it even does, because a part of me honestly believes that it might not do anything at all. And by the time that the movie comes out, I think that unless something changes or more information comes out, it'll probably be a killer box office poll, I'm sure. All right, so that's it for the news, right? That's everything?
That's it.
Look, I think we need to start with a fresh bag here, a fresh trash bag, because we just need to take this trash out right now. Everything that we just talked about was total garbage, and I'm going to just tie up the bag real quick, fold it, throw it in the garbage can. Gone. Over. Yeah, going to clean the slate. So let's just take a deep breath from all that trash that we just talked about and get into some follow-up if we have any, and some personal current news. Let's do it. Let's start clean right now. Nice and clean. Happy thoughts, everyone. Happy thoughts. Positive vibes.
Goose Frabra. Oh no, Goose Fraba.
So what's new with you, my friend? Anything going on? It's been a month. It's been at least a month. Maybe a month and a week since we have talked, and at least a month since we posted our last episode. So what's new with you? What's been going on? Where have you been? How have you been?
It's been way too long. I've missed this so much. I've been doing good. I've been very busy.
You've been doing good work? Like a superhero. I've been doing good.
I've been a good boy. I've been a very good boy.
Oh, nice. Did you get treats? Who gives you treats?
No. Was I supposed to get treats?
Well, see, that's how life's supposed to work. You do good things, you get treats. You do bad things, you get no treats. Very binary.
Well, apparently I'm not getting too many treats, but I'm still trying to do the good thing. So, yeah, no, everything's been pretty good. It's been just super, super busy for me. That's part of the reasons why we haven't been completely available. Kind of had space in between the episodes, which we apologize for. But yeah, I've been working on A League of Their Own pretty heavily, but I just finished my last day on Friday for that because I'm actually jumping over to a movie called Rustin, and that is a Netflix movie, and that is run by the Obama production company. I forget what it's called, but that's pretty cool. When I found that out, I thought that was neat. But that's going to be like a period piece as well. But yeah, I mean, and then I just been having weddings and house hunting and just life. It's been a lot I've been having some medical things that have been going on as well, and that's been keeping me busy as well. But I think that's all gotten better and figured out. And so, yeah.
Well, that's a relief to hear, my friend. I'm glad that you're doing well. I hope that things are as balanced as they can be in your life, and it is so good to be here. It is so good to see you. It's good to have contact with you. For a little while there, I was getting really used to having you around a lot. I was getting used to having you right there by my side, at least once a week, once every other week. That was nice. We haven't been this close in a long time. So I was going through some separation anxiety. I know. So yeah, he said, he's been busy, and with our schedules being the way that they are, I work through weekends. He usually has weekends off, and we did want to record actually a couple weeks ago to get this trifecta series over with, but unfortunately I wasn't able to follow through, and so all it takes is sometimes missing that one time, and it can put us behind, obviously, as far as we've been behind right now. So in the words of the Bearded Vegans, it's nice to say, we're back, baby. We're back. And the only thing that's kind of been holding me down, the only thing that's been going on is I got the vid, guys. I got the vid, the COVID, the SARS-CoV-2.
Bomb.
Yeah, and it kicked my ass. It totally kicked my ass.
It's still kicking your ass.
I guess, I'm trying to manifest that I'm not still dying, but I definitely still feel like I'm dying.
Man, that's scary. That scared me when you told me that.
It was a solid week of almost serious symptoms. Still considered mild because I wasn't in the ICU and I wasn't really having any lung problems until recently, where I'm just feeling tight. I don't have any pain. I don't have anything like that. I just feel like I can't take big deep breaths, and if I do, I just feel like some fucking giant is just squeezing me with all of its might.
That sounds scary, for real. That's really scary.
If I try to breathe in too hard, I just feel it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. It feels like what it would feel like if you can still feel things, but you don't feel pain. If someone was just squeezing you real hard.
Ugh.
So that's love right there. That's hugs from COVID. That's what I call it, little COVID hugs. If I was a little baby, that's how I would explain it. It's just little COVID hugs, buddy. It's okay, little Joey.
Well, I don't want. Oh my God, this all sounds so sad, dude. This all sounds so sad.
So it's rough. It's rough. It's definitely affected me mentally and physically. And I'm on the way up. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm negative now.
Yay!
So it's great and it's nice. Yeah. So I survived, and here we are, getting through this. Hopefully I can stay healthy and things continue to progress, and I hope everyone else out there stays safe and continues to do what you feel like you need to do in order to be the safest that you can be. So outside of that, I got nothing, man. Nothing going on besides just plowing through life and living one breath at a time. I guess with that being said, Dylan, it's time for the fun to begin at last.
Well, I'm glad that you are now getting better, Joe. I'm glad that you're feeling
Thank you.
better and better each day. The hugs scare me, so let's not get any more COVID hugs. And with all that being said, let's get to the movie trailer for Fear Street Part 3, 1666.
We can end the curse. For Shady Side. What the hell?
You see it now.
Sarah!
The devil has come to feast on our misdeeds. And his darkness grows within each of us.
Sarah Fear, you know nothing good comes from those woods after sundown.
What was that? The truth will follow you forever.
What happens now?
The brief description from IMDb is: the origins of Sarah Fear's curse are finally revealed as history comes full circle on a night that changes the lives of Shady Siders forever, forever, forever. Categorized under the drama, horror, mystery genres, this rated R Netflix original directed by Leigh Janiak is the third and final installment of a trifecta horror series that pulled together a 6.6 out of 10 on IMDb, which was originally 6.8 when we were going to originally do this, a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, which was 2% when we were going to originally do this, and a 68% on Metacritic, which actually, when we were going to originally do this, there wasn't any review from Metacritic yet, and we were almost going to have to sigh about it. What does it say on yours? Because I changed it. What was the one that we were going to do?
Well, this says 68%. Remember, I had you resend it.
Oh, that's right. I had to send you a new one. So it was called I don't know. It was called Indie Junkies or something like that.
Oh,
but they didn't give it a good review.
No, we got to stick with that Metacritic.
Yeah, yes, we are. We love you, Metacritic. Don't know why. I guess it's just maybe because you're the only one who disappears sometimes, and we get that separation anxiety again. We just crave the normalcy. So one 5-star review said, "Amazing prequel third part. Amazing. Fear Street 1666 is a great film with an excellent production. The costume design is wonderful, the special effects are good, and the performances are incredible. A refreshing Netflix film about supernatural horror that involves elements of witchcraft, Satanism, and serial killers." Which is pretty much what we were saying that we liked about it from the get-go. It's like a delicious soup of all of those ingredients right there.
Yes, absolutely. So I am agreeing with that 5-star review.
Yeah, did anybody have any complaints?
Yeah, we have a 1-star review.
Ugh, God, these fucking 1 stars.
As an Irish person, I just couldn't. Copying elements from loads of horror movies isn't a homage unless the reference is on point. This is like a Gen Z kid that only saw the trailers of all the classic horror movies, then tried to write one, giving them all a wink. That, and they've definitely never met an Irish person.
So there's one thing that I was just thinking about all of this that I was trying to put together was, where we said previously that I believe that this was in Ohio. I know that you said that you weren't sure if you saw anything about that, but I was trying to figure out why they would have people that have those kinds of accents on the settlement at that place at that specific time. Do you think that that's something that they looked into and they We're like, okay, these were the typical accents of the people that were settling in this area, or do you think they just kind of pulled it out of their ass and were like, we want to use this accent at this settlement for this movie?
I mean, it could be either way. I feel like, because here's the thing, most of these actors are going to have some training when it comes to that accent. Like, they're going to have to go through like probably a few weeks of training for this, and they're not just, I don't think they're just going to be like pull an accent out of the hat and hopefully it's the one. I think they probably did some research, whether,
I mean, like how do you have any opinion or idea on how they decided we want people to be picking up this accent? I'm not going to give it a name because, I mean, they say Irish, but maybe that's not what it is. You know, whatever the accent is, do you think that it was very purposeful in choosing that accent? Or do you think that...
I feel like it would be more purposeful, but I don't know if it's the right one for the location or whatever, but
yeah, I
mean, it's just an accent.
And then I was going to say, any opinions on it? Did it change how you felt about the movie? Did you feel like people did a pretty good job?
I think that it's not, I mean, to me, it doesn't bother me either way. I feel like I would have just went with the flow because I didn't live in those time periods. I don't know. And I'm not usually big on movies that take place in this time period. I will say this movie did really well with it though, so I was pretty excited about it and it kept my attention the whole time. But usually, I kind of check out as far as like the details when it comes to period pieces like this.
I think for the most part, outside of, you know, just in the vacuum of what I know and what I'm listening for, I thought that they sounded pretty good. In my opinion, I think that Dina actually had the weakest accent. Like it was, and by weakest, I mean it was the most inconsistent. Obviously, she was around the most, so it kind of puts her more in the position of having to, you know, be doing that accent more often. But I would have also expected, I would have expected it to be a little bit more consistent. There were some vowels, depending on the word, you know, that she kind of struggled with. And, you know, they might have just kept it because that's, you know, that was the best that she could do. Or, you know, maybe they thought that it was good enough. And maybe I don't know what the
I mean,
fuck
that's
I'm
the thing.
talking
We're
about,
not like accent professionals.
You know, that's just my opinion. That's where I'm at with that. You know, yeah, I don't think that any of it was bad. I don't think that it took away from the film. And honestly, I think that it was another element that helped separate what I feel like was movie 1 in this movie to movie 2 in this movie. It helped me keep them separated. Offspring.
Some of the main faces in this movie are Ashley Zuckerman, who is Sheriff Good. He's an actor known for Manhattan 2014 and Succession 2018. Gillian Jacobs, adult Ziggy Berman, born 1982 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, USA, where I live. She is an alumni of Mount Lebanon High School, Pennsylvania. She began acting at a young age by attending acting classes at the Pittsburgh Playhouse on weekends.
Have you heard of that place?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Have you been there?
No. I don't get around too much, but I've definitely heard of it. Jacobs made her acting debut portraying the role of Titania in Pittsburgh Public Theater stage adaptation of Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream at the age of 16, guys.
Those were people that were in, you know, obviously the other films, but we didn't give them a shout out in our main faces section because they weren't as prominent as they are in this film. So there you go. There's a little bit more from the acting department. And as we've said, the last 2 episodes, same director as the last film, and still no information on the budget or the box office. I definitely found a place where that information is, but it's behind a very expensive paywall. It's like $300 to be able to see the information about these movies, like in very vast detail, like hundreds and hundreds of pages of information about the movie. But it's a couple $100 to be able to access the documents. So I said, fuck that. And I think that there's actually an application on Google Chrome.
Hell?
I actually follow this guy on TikTok now. That's really cool. Whenever I do figure that out, I'll actually give him a shout out because I think that it's pretty neat. He just gives you websites that are like super sneaky websites that help you do things that aren't illegal but are like really beneficial to you. And one of the things was where he shows you an application on Google Chrome that most people probably don't know about that actually allows you to skip behind paywall. For example, if you go to like a publication website, you know how they like give you you can read one article for free or some shit like that. But if you want to see any more articles, you either have to buy a newspaper or sign up for their website. Well, it allows you to skip right on past their paywall and be able to read the articles or be able to read documents and shit like that. So that's pretty neat.
And that's not illegal?
Apparently not. It's a Google application. It's on Google Chrome.
Okay, well.
They allowed it to be created. They could have shut it down. You know what I mean? If there was something wrong with it, it should have been flagged.
Just like Army of the Dead's font, it'll be shut down after this is posted, I'm sure.
I'm sure. Yeah, yeah. I'm ruining it.
You're ruining it.
I can't share this information. It's good. There's too many people listening. Millions of...
You're going to ruin it for yourself.
Millions of listeners. So, to all of you millions of listeners out there, I'll just give you my general thoughts on this movie real quick. I think that it was the perfect way to bring it all together. You know, it was something that was a little bit of a concern starting at the beginning because there was just an incredible amount of information that we didn't know, most of it only being received now at the end. So it really made you wonder, is everything going to come together? And I mean it when I say that they didn't miss a single thing. Nothing. Unless you got some shit for me, I look back and forth, just like, not that I wanted anything to be wrong, but I couldn't believe that they really didn't miss a single thing. Even the tiny little things they threw at you that we thought to ourselves, wonder if they're just going to glance over this or if they're just going to go over this. So now that I'm speaking, I guess I can think of maybe one thing that we would have liked to know a bit more about, but I guess it didn't matter. They were just so dramatic about Ziggy Berman's home life. You know, the way that she was at home, like it was just so particular and dramatic that I felt like it was so obnoxious that it made me want to know a little bit more about why she was like that. I don't think there was anywhere to fit that in the film. I think it would have been unnecessary if they did. But because of how that was, that's the only thing that out of all of this, which is stupid, that I would have liked to just get a little bit more of or a little bit better understanding of. But it's also okay that I have no idea because that's what I said in the last review was, we probably won't know and that's perfectly fine. But my general thoughts overall, like I was saying, they brought it all together. It was full circle, just like that 5-star review. I like the elements that they had. There were very few things that I noticed that I have any nits to pick about. Very small, maybe 1 to 3 things that are like kind of stupid. So this is pretty silky smooth for a view for me. I thought that the way that they did show that period in time was very accurate. It didn't look like a set. It didn't look like it was staged. Everything looked really good to me. For the most part, like we were saying, the accents, none of the accents bothered me in any way, didn't take me out. Actually, if anything, it kept me in and it helped me transition into part 2 when we come back to everything else. So that's my general thoughts. I think it was a great movie, and so far at the beginning here, while we're talking about it, I would say that I would say that it is better than the second one, but still not as good as the first one.
Wow, I honestly think that you took the words right out of my mouth. Like that's exactly how I'm feeling. But you hit the nail on the head. Like you really took the words out of my mouth because I agree with you too that I think that this movie is better than the second movie, but not as good as the first movie. But with there being kind of like how they bring it back around and try to finish off the movie, it's like the first one again. It's like you get another part of the first movie. So that's what makes this one so special. And I was afraid going into this one that I thought it would have been my worst one because...
Yeah, you didn't think you would like this one. You were nervous about it.
I was just like, it's going to take place in 1966 the whole time. I'm not going to like get connected to the people as much because the way they, our lives and their lives are so separated now that it's hard to like feel the same like they do sometimes. And the period pieces aren't like always my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And they did very well with it. They kept me like connected the whole time, intrigued the whole time. So I would definitely say,
Like the Witch movie. Remember that? Like that was definitely a period piece horror film or like supernatural film. It was hard to get into it.
yeah. And I didn't like that at first, but rewatching it, I liked it.
Right. It was hard to get into it because of the way that it was staged. We don't usually. That's not usually our thing. Like we don't typically watch movies that are set in those kind of settings, or we're not even in the mindset of thinking about being in those kinds of settings. So it definitely made it feel like a hell of a lot more of a slower burn the first time around watching it.
What's crazy is watching this third movie with it being that period piece, I was more creeped out by the people's actions than I was with the horror in it almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the way how people can turn on each other so simple. I mean, that happens now, but the way it was done back then is so insane. Yeah. It's just ridiculous how people used to be. And I'm so glad that I live now than I did then back then.
Yeah. It was very important that things made sense. And if something didn't make sense, they pretty much did whatever or convinced themselves of whatever they needed to in order for it to make sense. Made for a lot of great stories in a lot of instances, but for as far as people's lives go, that's very accurate as far as how a lot of situations go. Little did they know at the time that they should have burnt the witch instead of fucking hanging her. But,
I know, get rid of her body and then,
Oops. Also, one thing that we didn't... There's a few things that we didn't understand I guess we already said this, but there's seriously a good handful of things that we did not understand that I was surprised to have be pulled back together in this. Did you ever figure out why Sam... this is in the general thoughts. Let's get the fuck out of the general thoughts section. Let's get out of here. This part sucks. Let's get out. We need to talk.
Oh, yeah. So for anybody who have not watched this film yet, hurry up and go watch it so you can come join us in the spoiler section, because apparently we have a lot of stuff to say and we just want to explode with all this information. So you guys just meet us over there.
So hurry up. Fucking go watch the movie if you didn't watch it. Let's go. Come on. Train's leaving. Let's go.
Choo-choo.
Here we go. Yeah. Chug it. Chug it. Chug it. Welcome to the spoiler section. Good to be back. Good to be here. Now we're free, Dylan. You can release the shackles. We are now able to speak freely. We can say what we want.
So we start this movie out with there's a pig in a little barn area. And first off, let me tell you guys, I watched when we were supposed to review this a few weeks ago. I was halfway through this film and did half the notes. This is the second time watching it, and then we couldn't do it because of time stuff. So then I was like, okay, I'm gonna stop and then pick it up the rest of it, and then just watched it before we reviewed it. Now the last half of it. So I'm gonna be a little rough. I have a lot of notes, but I'll be a little rough. I'll catch on though. But anyways, so we start out at some kind of barn or little shack thing where this black pig is, and we see I guess it would be it's Sarah Fear, but Dina is playing Sarah, which that's throughout this whole movie. They kind of go back and forth.
Before you get too far, I did just want to get kind of your feelings about the pot that this movie is stirring from the beginning. How did that music make you feel? There was kind of a different feel with how the direction that they went with the music for this one opposed to the other ones, where there weren't a lot of instrumentalists. It was just a few strings, and there was one point where there was a female vocalist. How did that music make you feel? Did you feel like it really set well with the time period that they were going with? Did you enjoy it?
I don't. Again, that was for the very beginning of it. I don't remember the music too well. I remember the music from today of what I've watched. But yeah, his music was great, and I think that it helped because every movie was a little different. Like the first one had different feeling that, made it kind of more, like I said again, like the 90s horror slasher. And then the 1978 was more of like the 80s slasher, early 80s slasher sounding music. And then this one is like period piece music more. Like did they use more instruments kind of related to that time period or what?
I don't know that it was that, but they just kind of had an approach to it that I can't, it's really hard for me to put into words what exactly it is. That it made sense to me that was, the score that they wrote for the film fit really fucking well. I think that, for that part of the movie, for part one, the elements of like being, very careful about, they didn't overdo it. You know what I mean? They just kind of kept it simple, but in keeping it simple, a lot of the time, it made it a lot more effective. So I think that it just gave me goosebumps. It just like gave me the heebie-jeebies, like the dissonance of the strings and just kind of playing like one or two notes, kind of in a repetitive kind of motion. It just made you feel like it made me feel tense too.
Well, jumping we'll come back again, but jumping way forward right before we go back to 1994. It's like the hanging scene and everything like that. That music in that part was like very impactful. Like it just kept on building more and more. And you had like the female chorus kind of sound, music behind it. And it's just like their theme song was just growing and growing. And so I actually felt more emotional this time viewing it and only watching half the movie than the first time I watched it for some reason. I was just like, I really felt it this time around. And it was nice. So that's where I really remember the music, was that point.
I think that they got really good shots. I just love outside shots with nice cameras, man. It looks so good. All the camera work again was great in this film. Everything from a technical aspect was just absolutely on point. I don't think I have any specific mentions, at least at this time, but I did just want to point out that once again, on the technical side, I just think the editing, the filming itself, the physical filming was just like wow. It just all turned out really good, cinematically beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I think they all were like that, and that's even in my notes too for when we get back to 1994, and they're in the mall, and they changed all the lights to the black lighting stuff, and I talk about I like that. I like the way that looks too. So yeah, I mean, this whole movie has something good going on. Somewhere there's always something good. All of them, really.
Yeah. So you were talking about the pig at the beginning, and this pig is giving birth to many little piglets, a new mother, and struggling to pop out that last baby. And so Seraphir helps that last baby come out, and it almost seems like the way that they have her like looking and the way that her eyes were about the whole situation, it just seemed like she liked the blood. She liked the way that they kind of staged it at the beginning. They made her seem very numb to these kind of things. It almost seemed like she enjoyed it, and it really lined it up to make it feel like this girl might be a fucking crazy killer.
Well, that's why I'm still kind of confused with that. Like, why was that such a thing? Because I was like, wait, and she enjoyed it. She was excited. Like, why?
I mean, I suppose, because they did mention that she's done it many times, and she's like a miracle worker with having, helping the animals give birth to their children. So I think that maybe that's the thing that I thought was maybe she enjoyed, being a part of that process and, having the skill to be able to help bring those babies to life, because, they said 7 piglets, not a single stillborn, and everything was perfect. You're a miracle worker.
Okay. That makes so much more sense.
But at the time, it seemed really creepy. Like, out of context, it was like, ooh, what the, like...
Yeah.
It just seemed like
that's what I thought.
Especially the way that she was covered in blood in the beginning, and, she's, like, looking at herself and shit. Like, I love how they set that up from the last movie. Yeah.
Well, I thought that was going to lead into something else. Like, people, like, finding out, especially because she was in the water, cleaning herself, and that's when they're like, Sarah, or whatever, and she's like... I was like, oh, she's going to get in trouble. This is where it started. This is what's going to happen.
I know, yeah. I thought it was going to be intense, but it turned out everything was pretty normal.
Yeah.
Like, as far as their situation goes, it was a very normal situation. And I will say, like how you were saying you didn't think you were going to like the movie. I thought I was going to love this movie because I thought it was going to be dark, like really dark, but it was not dark at all. If
No.
anything, I think that it was the least dark of all of them.
Yeah, there was definitely some missing pieces. Well, not missing pieces, but like it was better in places I did not think it was going to be. And it was not as good in places where I thought it should have been, like the priests and stuff like that. I was expecting more of that.
Yeah, it wasn't enough. It wasn't
Not
enough.
even close. But that was creepy though beforehand. Like during it, that was
Shit, yeah, it was. But it was so short-lived. It was so short-lived. I wanted more. I mean, it all makes sense. Don't get me wrong. The whole thing makes sense. The whole timeline makes sense. The whole roadmap makes sense. I feel like it all happened exactly the way it was supposed to, because it ends up actually telling a very tragically beautiful story. You know what I mean? That is so obviously, but also strangely, coincidentally parallel to her actual life situation in a way, especially with her relationship. You know, like obviously the mom's still a fucking jerk about
them being together.
You know, Sam. But in this instance, Hannah. But obviously, in these times, she can be a lot more intense and slaps the shit out of her daughter, and you know, kind of pushes Dean around and stuff. But overall, yeah, I'm definitely I'm just a little disappointed that it wasn't disgustingly, disturbingly dark.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, but that's just me. I'm just a freak.
But what I was going to ask you though, what was your opinion on like the whole American Horror Story recasting the original actors from the other movies into this as the period piece, like having Dina play Sarah and stuff like that?
Honestly, I personally think that if they would have just threw us a whole bunch of new people, I don't know. It's hard to say, but in my head at the time when I was watching it, the more that I watched it, it helped me be more comfortable to continue to be watching the same people in a different time period. You know, I didn't feel confused about it. You know, they were very, you know, of a lot of films, like they were very hard on like pushing the names, like they were saying the names of everyone, you know, so that they really emphasized that these are different people. And because they used the names a lot, it kind of helped you, you know, have a different thought on how I felt about it, have a different thought on how I kind of was comfortable about moving into all of that. So I didn't have any problem with them using kind of revamping the actors into new characters. I was pretty comfortable with that. I thought that if anything, it helped me get through it better and it helped me transition better. And I think that they were effective with using those kind of like quick flashes back to actual Sarah Fier's face and stuff like that. If anything, that was really spot on in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it really helped too that they changed the way people looked. Like good, like having him long hair, big beard, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not about the name game all the time though, as you know. So that was where it got hard. Even in my notes, I'm just like, I just wrote Sarah for everything. I'm like, oh no, it's Dina now. It's back to Dina. I'm like, wait, are they both named Sarah? I'm like, no, it's Dina.
Luckily my name game was still on point for the most part. I almost didn't know the janitor's name. I almost fucking forgot Martin's name, but I managed to pick that up.
I forgot. What did I write him as? Is his last name Franklin? Yeah, I just like wrote because it's like Martin Franklin, and I just kept on calling him Mr. Franklin.
Mr. Franklin. Mr. Franklin. Somebody puked in the hallway.
Come on, man. Come on. Come on, man.
Well, now after it's the morning time, and you know all this stuff has happened with this pig and everything. Thomas like runs into like this drunk version of Thomas comes out. Well, it's Thomas in this movie too, right? So his name is actually the same for both, but his drunken stupor, he comes out of like the outhouse or whatever he's in, and he like runs into Sarah, and he's like black teeth, long greasy hair. Ugh. He just looks really gross, and he's a jerk. He's a super jerk, and he's just like really very creepy. But he's like giving Sarah a hard time and says like he has like he knows her secrets and shit. Like what is that about?
I laughed so hard. She's like, "Well, you must be fucking busy. You must be busy." Cause like
she just her nonchalantness. I loved it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That sarcasm. You know, that's the thing is they, you know, in a way, it almost felt right that they did it like that. because it helped the characters feel more parallel. It actually made me sympathize even more with Seraphir because I just felt like how much when Dina kind of gained these memories that, she felt almost like she had to. At that point, why wouldn't you? You know what I mean? She like to get that fucking redemption story. She redeemed it. That was just such a nice thing for me there.
Redemption.
I enjoyed that a lot. Another thing, did you notice the how obviously the pastor takes out his eyes and all the children's eyes? Do you remember in the beginning when all the children were singing and playing and all that? They were singing a song about eyes.
Yep.
They were singing and then he scares him and shit. I didn't put that together until the second watch. I was like, oh my fucking god, that's actually really creepy.
That's what I love about these movies.
Ended up coming around.
Is they do that those little things. So cool.
Yeah, I definitely would have never picked that up if I didn't come back around again to see it.
We meet Good. Sarah and Good, are they kind of dating? Is that what's going on? Are they like, what is with their relationship in this movie?
Oh, it just seems like, how the typical situation where it's like, that's the person that her father wants her to marry. You know what I mean? Like, and he does seem like a nice guy, especially compared to most of the other people. I could see why. Just like she says too when she brings the piglet and she's like, "Oh, we're practically married." Just because especially in times like that, if that's what somebody wants for their daughter, that's probably what's going to have to happen. I don't think they didn't really get those vibes from this, but it still seems like that's definitely what he was trying to get towards. I did like, they got these nice woodsy shots, and they got, what I mean? Like the way that they took all those shots too, while she's traveling to Solomon's place and stuff like that. I loved all that, all the little rivers and creeks. Everything just looked wet and gray. Everything's super gray in this first part, like really gray.
All of the movies have like a different color grade to them. Like especially when you look at the flashbacks and stuff like that, like seeing like the clips side by side, pretty much, you could see where like one was more blue, one was more orange, one was more gray, brown. Like they're just all different kind of colors, and that's one thing about these films is like all those details, things like that, like it's so cool. I know that they did it on purpose. It was a purposeful thing.
Yeah, seems like everything they did was with some pretty serious intention.
It was definitely thought out. That's for sure.
There was a few shots though when like lingering over the settlement. I was like, there are not nearly enough houses or buildings for all these people to be living in.
Yep.
That's the only thing where I feel like they shouldn't have made it look so small by, shooting directly over top of it like they did for a few shots. I feel like that really kind of took away from. For me, it took away from feeling like it was realistic because obviously there weren't a shit ton of people there, but there were still not nearly enough buildings for how many people lived there. So that kind of distracted me.
What's crazy, like if you look at like stuff like that, it's insane to think that back in the day, like that's how we started. Like that's how we have the cities we have now. Like our cities started that way. How cool, how weird. So like a completely different world.
Yeah, it really is. And speaking of it being a different world, it was going back to what you were saying about how it's wild how things can happen and how people's lives can change so dramatically by people just being, accusing people of doing things that they might not have necessarily did, but they need a fucking answer for it. And somebody's got to go down for it. They can't just be like, oh, we don't know. Like something always, especially in a situation like this, something very bad to someone very innocent is probably going to happen. And it happens a lot. And it's especially sad in this situation.
It happened way too often.
Did you feel confused, like how they just kept on all saying to each other, full moon rises before nightfall? And then someone
I
else
thought it was
like,
just some like old timing thing that people said. I'm like, this
good night to enjoy the fruits of the land. Like they're just saying hello to each other. And that's the point too. You know what I mean?
Like, can you just say hello? Why do you have to say all these, like this whole paragraph? Hello.
I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. It's like their way of saying, hey, we're getting fucking wasty pants tonight. It's like So that was pretty cool. I ended up actually liking that a lot. That's just like how all the kids were like, "Hey, this shit's going down tonight. You going, I'm going. You going, I'm going."
I love how they also actually eat like berries. Like they go to the witch's house, or the what's her name, the widow's house in the woods, her tent thing, and that's where they go to steal these berries that they're going to use to pretty much get high or drunk on or whatever they are. But that's what's funny. Didn't they call them berries or something like that in 1994? And I just love how that carried from, like, you know, for the time periods, like they kind of like carried together.
And speaking of
those berries,
speaking of the widow, one thing that I did like about having the same characters kind of pull in from each part of the film, I was kind of having fun figuring out, oh, where's this person going to be? Where's this person going to be? Who's the, you know, like for the widow, I was like, oh, I bet it's going to be Nurse Lane. I bet it's going to be Ruby's mom. And, you know, so it was just kind of fun for me for stuff like that to just be like, oh, I wonder who this is going to be, how this person's going to be.
Yep.
I enjoyed that a lot more rather than just meeting strangers and being like, oh, that's them. You know, it's like starting all over again. And I'm at a third part of a fucking 3-part series. At this point, I actually probably don't want to meet anybody new. I just want to figure out what's going on.
I love how well connected everything was when it came to things like the widow being like the strange person kind of on their own. Just like in 1978, she was that strange person that was kind of on her own at the camp, you know. And again, in 1994, she was that strange person in her house where she was just like, you know, she wasn't as prominent in the first one, but still, like, she was there and just kind of like, you know, quiet and kind of like what you'd say strange, you know. And I like how they always fit into those characters, just like Sarah and Dina, you know. And it's just I like that, and like using the same thing, like the locations, how over 300 years, how different the locations were with the tree, the cave, where people busted out of the floor, and it was the grate in the mall and things like that, or underneath the person's house in 1666. So
yeah, it was so cool to see how that connected. I like that too, because it was like, oh, that's where that was. That's where that, you know what I mean? Like you could see just how they kind of did the same thing. They just pulled it all together. So you knew where all the exits and entrances are from that little down, that like cave beneath the ground. You can see how they all meet up, how all those 3 locations have those same exits, but you get to kind of see where they all are in each different movie. And I was glad that they pieced that together too. Oh, and this last one here, when they went to part 2 in part 3.
Yeah, I know. Back to part 1, part 2, or part 1, part 3.
Point
2. I don't know.
3.1.
That part gets confusing, but watching it doesn't get confusing. You just keep watching it, and you know.
No, just talking about it is, yeah. Just bouncing all over makes it a little.
Yeah, you just can't. Because there's 3 movies and they go back and forth.
The dialogue, like just the little conversations that they had amongst each other. That you were usually like, they seemed like they were trying to make little funny quips most of the time whenever they would be having small talk like that. I enjoyed that for the most part. It was nice to see Kate again. I don't remember what Kate's name is in this one here. I'm sure I have it somewhere, but that name game. It was nice to see Kate. It was nice to see Kate and Simon again. As little as it was still nice because I didn't want them to be gone forever. I enjoyed them.
And Cindy Berman, Abigail.
Mm-hmm. Yep, got her a little bit too, right?
I've seen her a little bit too.
Yep. So that was what was also nice about getting those people coming back, was you get to see those faces that you thought were gone forever.
Well, and then we're at that party in the woods, and we have this jerk that comes out. Like, everyone's just kind of having a good time, all high and stuff, and then all of a sudden, or drunk, or whatever they are.
They were tripping out, dude. Like after they took the berries, it was like, woo.
They were doing something. They definitely were not drunk. They wasn't just drunk. Yeah. They were feeling something weird. And then you get this one of the, I don't know his name, no name game for him, but
Caleb,
was that his name? Caleb shows up and grabs Hannah and tries to like practically like force her to go do some nasty, you know? And it was very disturbing. And
yeah, he's like, quit being a tease.
Yeah. You're like,
well, she's not even fucking doing anything.
Absolutely. So then Sarah comes up and pretty much is like pushes him and stuff. And He pretty much just said, like, what did he say to her? He said, I don't know what he said, something about, like, pretty much, like, wanting to do something, correct? Like, I don't know. But all I know is Sarah ended up, her response to him because he still had, like, a chub on, you can actually, like, see his boner in his pants, which I love that. That was funny. I like that. And she was just like,
it was, yeah.
I'm sure there's a mule tied up that will oversee your flaws in the dark. And I loved that too. Just like it was like their burn back in like the period burn, you know, like the back in the day time.
And I was like, ooh, 1666 burn right there.
Exactly.
I can't believe that they did this. But when Sarah smacks Caleb, they used a stock sound. Of like that shock sound that
yep, I thought
it was very obviously a stock sound.
I didn't write it down,
like,
but I remember it.
Fuck?
Yep.
I can't believe I heard that. Like it was so noticeable. Anybody who's ever used that or heard that a million times has got to notice that. Like that seems so silly that they would have used that. That's my only, honestly, that was the one big critique that I had. It's just like, I mean, it's probably nothing. Like I said, it's stupid, but I thought that it was fucking annoying that they used that stock sound.
I hate that shit. I hate those stock sounds. I hate like just recreate it, you know, or find one that's not heavily used like that. I don't know, but that one is. I hate that stock sound. It's like the same shit, just like those screams. And there's a name for it. I just don't remember what it's called.
Yeah. So when you go back into it, check it out and listen for this sound right here. So yeah, they go out into the woods. After that, they kind of get separated from the party. You know, we get a nice little romantic situation where you can kind of see, oh my goodness, okay, we're getting a little bit development here. You could kind of tell from earlier that there was some connection there, but I didn't want to make any assumptions, so I just kind of felt like, you know, everybody was just friends until it kind of escalated to that. And you could tell that there was that fear there. You could, you know, the way that their acting was, you could tell that they were sincerely worried about having same-sex relations. And, you know, that the intimacy continues, and then they hear something in the woods, and so they immediately stop, and now they're in fear that somebody has seen what they've done.
Who'd you think it was?
Who did I think that it was? I obviously at the time, my sucker ass self, I figured honestly that it was Mad Thomas, especially, and then that guy got confirmed pretty quickly because right after, you know, that happened, they just quick cut to the scene to kind of push you along to help you feel like it's him. By him being like, just being drunk and being like, sinners, 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 sinners. You're like, oh, fuck, okay. So like the last... Yeah. But then I wasn't worried about it because I was like, he seems real fucked up, though. I don't think that he'd remember. I had a feeling that he wouldn't remember. So who did you think that it was? Who did you think it was?
I thought it was Thomas at first when I first seen it, but he's seen them again when they kissed.
Oh, did he? I don't remember.
When they run back. After they get caught, they run back to their city or their town, whatever, their little village or whatever. They run back to their village, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know who that was," you know. And so then they like kind of like talk, and then Sarah and Hannah just give each other a kiss real quick before separating. And I think wasn't that when Thomas was watching them for real?
You could see them. He could like he's peeping at them. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think so. That's part of the one I watched a couple weeks ago. So
then we get into the next day. We dive into the next day. Things feel kind of okay. Her little brother wakes her up saying that he already did all this shit, just pissed. You know, he's still playing a pretty good role there. I like his acting was consistently enjoyable throughout, you know, these films. I enjoyed him and how he did. Yeah, Benjamin Flores Jr. Kick-ass motherfucker. So then, you know, she finds a little bit of her halo or whatever you would call that thing, a tiara, her little tiara that she had. She found some of that in her hair.
That red moss stuff.
And you're like, wow, okay. So yeah, she's she's just like kind of, you know, she's just feeling, she's all up in her feelings about it. You know what I mean? It just seems like you can see those butterflies flying. Mm-hmm.
She's all giddy because of, the kiss that they shared. Well, more than a kiss. There was more than a kiss.
To myself, I was concerned for them as well. You know, it is 1666.
Oh,
you know, and they even say it themselves. You know, we could get hanged for this.
Well, I was also nervous. Not nervous, but I wasn't even sure at first if they were going to play them off as just like really close friends or if it was going to be like a lover situation, which then, yeah, and they did. They played them two, loving each other, which I was curious to see how that was going to play out in the 1666. But it seemed like all those people were more worried about what went on later in the church and what happened than even the fact that they kissed. Like, yeah, they kissed, whatever, but it was more about the other events that really is what tried to get them hung for being a witch, not that they kiss each other.
Yeah, and what a shitty coincidence that it is that right after they have this moment that all these things start going wrong. All the food is fucked up, all the fruit and shit is all gross, nasty, and rotten.
The dogs found in the well.
Yeah, Mary Boy was in the well. So then you have dead dog water. That's gross and sad.
And then Hannah's dad starts acting weird. Super weird. He was freaking me out.
Yeah, Sarah goes to see Hannah. Or Hannah grabs and says, my dad is being fucking weird. And I loved those shots that they had where they were just kind of showing him sitting on the bed looking at the wall or the window, and all the flies are just going all crazy all around him, and he's just something.
Yeah, and then everyone was like, and showed like him being way back there while they're talking about him. I'm like, oh my god, what is gonna happen? Like it was truly a cool shot. It was a daytime shot too, and it was still freaky. Like that was freaky for me. I liked it.
Everything about him. Just everything about the everything that lined it up, the time period and everything about it just made moments like that. But one thing I just remembered too, they tried so many times to do little scares in this film that were super ineffective. There were so many like little suspense, little scare moments that just seemed so ill done. Like I just felt like when Sarah's like looking in a cabinet or something and they just really drag it out, or she's walking around, like there was like a handful of times where they tried to have a scary feeling or a scary, like you're leading up to a scare happening, that I just didn't think those were done very well. I didn't like any of them very much. It made me feel like, oh, that's stupid. And maybe it's just because I watched it the second time around and it wasn't as effective, and that's kind of where my opinion's being based from.
I don't know. I don't really remember the jump scares that much. For some reason, they're not sticking out to me.
Exactly, because they were really ineffective jump scares. Obviously, you can tell most of the time when they're purposely trying to get you a jump scare. And for you to not even notice that they were trying to do that too, is like, I think that it says something that it was not very good. Anytime that they tried to do that, it just irritated me a little bit.
Well, then Hannah's mom comes home after they are talking about Hannah's father, who is the priest, and right, that's my assumption, right? It's her dad as well as the priest.
Yeah.
Okay.
The pastor.
Yeah, pastor. So Hannah's mom comes home and sees that Sarah and Hannah are together, and Hannah's mom is not about it. First, they don't like them together because I think she has an idea that they like each other. Two, I guess the town's talking about them, and all this stuff's going around throughout the town. And then Hannah's mom like slaps Hannah in the face, right? And then throws Sarah right out, out the front door, and like slams the door on her and
screams like crazy. Yeah, like God knows what you are. And like that was another moment that was effective too. Just like when the pastor was sitting on the bed, when everyone was just looking at her after the mom screamed. It didn't build from that though. That felt like a moment that like she still walked around in public afterwards, and it seemed like that didn't happen.
I know. There's
only so many fucking people there.
Confused about that. Yeah. Because I know people have talked. People already knew, and now she's just like, okay, it's a thing, but we're still going about our day. And I'm like, at this point, why don't you guys just run away? I'm gone already.
Yeah. So it was an effective moment, but it didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, it didn't keep going. Yep.
And Dad's pissed, of course. Dad's like, I know what's going on with you. She goes and sees her dad, and her dad's just pretty much saying, "Oh, if only your mother was around, she probably could have set you straight," and all this other shit.
I know, that was stupid.
I was just like, that's so sad.
But that's how they would have thought back then. Yeah. She's blaming it on him, and
just kept saying, mentioning some strangeness in her, which I don't know. I never understand what that means. Like, just because you might be a little. Why did people always expect everyone to be the same? Like, why did nobody ever think that personalities could be fucking different. Like, it just didn't make sense to
That's
have
how
have
it was
one.
back in the day. It's kind of how it is now.
Well, yeah, but accidentally, in thinking we're all different, a lot of people are being the same. You know what I mean? Like everyone thinks that they're different, but they're falling into the same categories. Bum bum bum, calling you out, humans. One thing that was like very disturbing and gross. Do you remember?
The pig?
Yeah,
Yeah, that was really freaking nasty. That was dark.
munching on those babies.
That's where the darkness came in, where I was just like, okay, that was the darkness I was looking for, and it's kind of here. Comes and goes once in a while through this film.
Yeah, right. You get little layers of it, but it was
wasn't
never
a full
consistent
layer.
enough.
It was just like dip in and out.
Yeah, little sprinkles here and there.
Oh, but when that pig was eating its fresh babies, like, and it looked gross, and it was
looked
disturbing.
nasty for sure. And it just the noises and just sitting there, just was like, probably in those situations you're like, okay, there's definitely something wrong with this pig, and especially like with this whole plague looking thing going on. That was the choice that she made, and she put the pig down. Axed it. And I can't remember, did they make it kind of seem like she enjoyed that too, or at that point
I don't think she was enjoying it at that time. And then even Henry like pukes afterwards.
I know. Yeah. So it's like, oh, okay. So they definitely fuck with you a little bit as far as like trying to, as things progress, like they do really good at making you wonder a lot, the way that they set it up. They confuse you, but in a way that doesn't take you away from the movie.
And I'll say things start to like progressively go faster at this point through this film. Like I feel like this whole
it gets
film,
really fast.
I think this whole film was
just
pretty like, because again, with it being almost 2 parts, by the time I'm like, we're almost done with this movie. Like, first, I have a lot of questions yet. 2, not at the point that we're at here yet, but like before we go to part 2 of the film, I'm just like, okay, so we're almost done, but I just have more questions. And then I realized I paused it and I was like, oh my God, we have like an hour left of this movie. And I'm like, this is awesome. Because then that's when we go to 1994. And I'm just like, holy shit, this is so fucking cool, guys. Like, I am super pumped for this. Like, the whole movie was, yes, I felt like I watched the whole movie. It felt like a whole movie. Like the 1666 version, I felt like I was watching a whole movie. And then I got to watch like another part of the first movie again. So I got like 2 movies in one for the third movie. But it wasn't like a slow, like, it didn't make me feel like, oh, this is dragging 2 movies. It was like, holy crap, this one's already almost over. And then this one's already, like, it was cool.
Yeah. Yeah. For something that would have felt like it was taking forever, you would think, just the way that it was laid out, it really went super smooth and the timing was great. I like that a lot. I agree with you completely.
I have a question. So Solomon brings over a knife holder for Sarah as like when he's trying to comfort her.
Yeah,
and
like
stuff.
an embroidered leather dagger.
Yeah, what is that about? Do we get that again in the future films and stuff like that, or what? I don't remember.
No, I don't think that pops up anywhere. I think that they, that was pretty much what gave her the tool to use against him. When the time came.
Okay.
When she didn't have any defense, you know what I mean? It just so happened that she probably wouldn't have had a knife.
So it still was a foreshadow.
Right. Yeah. That he gets stabbed with the gift that he gives her. So Solomon shows up and, Dina's like, poor Dina's like, at this point, she's like, maybe I am, especially because after her dad says that shit, she really thinks maybe there is something wrong with me, because this was not just a dalliance. I love that word, a dalliance. And that's what makes her feel like there is something wrong with her. But Solomon actually, this whole movie, they really, and I thought that he was a pretty good actor too. That I feel like they really set him up for me to feel very surprised. They definitely played me good. They made me feel very surprised when it turned out that he was the one who started the whole thing, the whole family tree.
And when we found out about that, like, I was not expecting her to find that out so soon when she's like hiding from everyone. Goes down
I know.
Basement. I was like, holy crap! Like we're
but you
here
gotta
already.
think,
like we're
you gotta
here.
think, that people couldn't be as creative with hiding their demons like they could now. Like fucking hidden secret bookshelves and underground.
I was already surprised he had a whole basement.
Yeah, I know. It's wild.
I didn't know they had him back then.
He just dug it out himself, I guess.
But yeah, first too, I will say that good in this one has more of a part than the first movie. Remember how we were like, he was just kind of annoying. He was just kind of there. Now we know why, and there's a lot more to him. He's more of a complicated character than we thought. He's the big character actually. But yeah, so they're good, comforting Sarah and everything. Gave her that knife holder, and now at this point, the pastor has locked himself and all the children of the village in the church, and everyone's trying to get in. This is where probably the darkest scene comes from.
And Solomon, once again, just the way that, he purposely and intentionally, kind of sets himself up as being the hero all the time. It's not one of those things where you see him sometimes. It seems like it's not like a Scooby-Doo thing. Well, actually, it is kind of a Scooby-Doo thing where the nice person is around and you never expect them to be that fucking person. And then it ends up, it ends up being him.
Because he's not doing it directly. That's what's crazy. He's not doing the killing directly, and then come back as the hero.
It's wild. So yeah, he kind of takes the initiative to go in and break in, and he acts like he's so surprised about all this and so taken back by all this, and everyone slowly goes in and sees that the children and Sarah's brother even all have their eyes torn out and they're all dead.
The pile of eyeballs. You see that first, and then you're like, oh shit, and then you see the kid's eyes. It is a dark image. It was one that made me think, even now, it just makes me you think about scenes like that where you're just like, ooh, and it makes you feel weird.
It's cringy for sure.
Yeah.
Especially kids too.
Yeah, they all, that was a history, or that was a future of that town. The future's already practically getting ruined by killing all the kids.
And they double back with that, lining up all the bodies outside of the front of the community center or the church.
Yep, the 12 bodies.
Just like they did in 1978.
Now, why did the pastor come after Sarah again?
I mean, I think that he just started coming at the first person that was...
Well, that's what triggered people to start thinking she was the bad one.
No.
That's one of... What? That's not?
No, nobody thought anything was wrong with her. Nobody at the place came to the assumption that it had anything to do with her until later. She was just happened to be the closest one to where he was, and then Solomon saves her by stabbing him with the fucking pitchfork. But nobody at that point thought that. Everyone was just so astounded by what had just happened, so devastated by what just happened. At that very point, nobody was under the assumption that Sarah Fear had anything to do with it quite yet. It was not until this town meeting that comes up, this big town meeting, where, like we were saying, this is kind of those moments where everyone's all riled up. Everyone needs an answer. They're trying to figure it out, and leave it up to good old fucking jerk-ass Caleb to come up. And I mean, obviously he didn't see. I mean, maybe he did know that they went into the woods, but he, as far as what we find out, he was just making it up. Unless Solomon tipped him off, but it doesn't feel like something that he would have kept a secret. I feel like he would have said Solomon said something. So I'm under the assumption that he was just making it up because he wants to get payback for his embarrassment.
Or Thomas told him.
Maybe.
Because they kissed twice. I mean,
yeah, because I guess, Thomas saw him too. But every time that I feel like Thomas forgot, like I said, I think that they make you think that he knows, but who was the one spreading it around? I guess it must have been him then.
I think so.
Okay. So that was something that I guess confuses me a little bit, is I'm a little unsure of who's saying what to who and where and why and when and how.
They all look gross. They all started mashing together. I'm like, oh, okay, this gross person's talking to another gross person.
So yeah, that pretty much leads them to saying, they and then one by one you just see everybody stand up at the stand and say, I saw Hannah. I saw Hannah and Sarah Fear. I saw Hannah and Sarah Fear. I saw Sarah Fear. I saw, and they're all full of shit, but once they can all collaborate like that and be able to say it, it pretty much becomes fact. And then the people who don't know for sure will just kind of blindly follow along. And then here we go. Giant fucking mob. It's like things just...
I can't believe that.
Once that party was over, things just were boom, 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 escalating, which was awesome. I enjoyed that they had continuous motion, which really helped this film chug along and get to you to part two.
Sarah and Hannah were watching through the window, so they seen this and they run. That's when everyone starts going after them.
Yeah, they see their ass, yep.
They don't get very far before Hannah gets, she trips and they take her, but then she tells Sarah to keep running, so Sarah does keep running.
Yeah, that was actually no fuck moment. I was expecting them to both get away. I didn't expect one to get left behind. I was like, no, fuck. You got to be kidding me. And it's just Sarah off to run all by herself. So now Sarah is desperately trying to get away, and she kind of stumbles upon her father being drunk and passed out, probably because he's all stressed out and shit because everything went wrong. And he's like, this is a mess, and my daughter's in a shitty mess. So, she's kind of lingering around and showing, her hiding from getting caught and stuff like that.
So one of the things that the parents are advising, or the village is advising the parents of the older kids, is to look at their body and make sure that they don't have this quote unquote like marker that I guess could be like a witch's marker of some sort. And I guess when they don't have that marker, they take like this mud or bloodish looking something that they use, like this weird brush that they put across their front doors, and they kind of mark it off. Sarah finally breaks back in to see Hannah, who is locked or chained up, and pretty much promises her, like, the person, I'm not afraid of the devil, because she's now thinking about making like a deal with the devil, because she's not afraid of the devil. She is afraid of the humans that we live next to, the humans that we interact with daily. Sarah's talking to Hannah, pretty much saying, like, I'm going to get you out of here. And like I was saying, she's going to make that deal with the devil. So she has to go to the widow's like little tent cabin, whatever it is, in the woods, and steal this book. She gets there and she's looking around and she sees where the book's supposed to be, but nothing is there except for blood. A crow like randomly flies by, and she flies back, falls on the ground, and to the left of her is the widow. Throat majorly slashed. She's dead. So the book's not there. So she runs. She gets out of there.
And this is when she goes to Solomon's place. And she does the kind of knocking that like stresses me out beyond belief. Like if somebody came to my door and knocked like that, oh my God, I would just, my anxiety would be through the fucking roof. I wouldn't be like, hey, stop it. I'd be like internally freaking out because someone's knocking like that.
Yeah, I would just crawl down to the ground, hide under the bed, like, go away.
So, then she kind of looks to confide in Solomon again, and he says that she doesn't think that she's crazy because he knows what's going on this whole time, that piece of shat. And then all of a sudden, coincidentally, I don't know why, but all of a sudden everyone's at Solomon's house trying to find Sarah. That must be like since he lives a little bit more remotely away from everyone, that's probably the last place that they went to. So they went to his place and tried to find her, and he let her go hide, thinking that she would not dig as far as she dug into. And so while Solomon's trying to keep everybody away and telling Caleb that he can't intimidate him and all this other shit, gets sent. Sure, she sends herself down this rabbit hole and like finds all these animal parts and all this other crazy fucking gross looking shit.
Well, I thought that too. I thought that was weird, but I was also like, did they just have like, they kept animals in the cellar? Was it a way of keeping them cooler and stuff, and that's what they would eat later?
Yeah, because of the music, the music was kind of making me feel like she was getting into some messed up stuff. So if it wasn't for the music, I probably would have just thought, oh, this is probably what most of their fucking shitty basements look like. She gets down there and she sees the witch's circle, and she sees, she dips her fingers in and knows that it's this nasty blood and the fire and all that. And the way that he comes through that hole so slowly and just stares at her and just crouches and stands up, I love the way that he did that. It just made me feel like he was very aware, like very like trying to be alpha in that situation and like staying on top and just being like, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? What should I do? And she is just completely mind blown when she finds out that this is pretty much all revolving around him and he's the one who did all this devil summoning and shit like that. She looks and acts like she is totally and completely mind blown. He tries to say that, she should be mad at all the people because the people are the ones who are fucked up right now, but none of them would be doing all this shit if it wasn't for him in the first place. So obviously she's not buying into his bullshit, and she fucking stabs him. And somehow, after being stabbed, this dude persistently chases her down throughout all of the caverns that weave underneath his place there.
Yeah, so we get to see all these different places. We get to see where the poop chute is. We get to see from part 1978. We get to see where in 1978 as well, where I forget her name, where she the girl runs and falls off the edge and breaks her ankle or whatever, because Sarah did the same thing, but she didn't hurt herself like she did. But we got to see what the heart was, and like you said, the witch's circle and stuff. So it was really cool to see all that stuff and where it started. Sarah runs away, but then Solomon catches up and tackles her against like the rock and gets her arm. He takes that knife and he stabs her right in the wrist, and her arm, like her like hand, like halfway falls off, and then
it gets pulled. Yeah.
They like it rips off the rest of the way, and she gets away from that by doing that. But
and she's still trying to struggle with that hand somehow. Like she's still like, he's still holding it down, and she's moving her arm.
Yeah, I'd be like, I tap out. I'm done. I'm done. I'm
it just
good.
totally rips the hand off. Yeah, I think that she could have had a little heavier of a reaction. I still think that she definitely pulled off being in some serious pain, but I mean, holy shit, I would have liked to just see a little bit more reaction from something like that happening. That's just raw right there. That's so raw. I couldn't imagine just going from having a hand to not having a hand so quick like that.
Yeah, like I don't even know what that would feel like. None of us know how that feels like unless it actually happens. Like, do you feel like your hand's gone? Does it hurt? Like, I don't know. It's scary because back then too, like you could bleed out, get infections. And so she runs away. She tries to climb up, like I said, that poop chute thing from 1978. She's trying to climb up that wall.
Yeah, so she finally escapes and she gets into the town hall or the church, and she just slowly walks out of the building.
Yeah, because she comes right up. It was a church thing because she comes up and it was actually right under where the pastor was. So all that like bad juju was right there.
And comes out and just sees Hannah all shackled up and just stares at her for a second, and then lo and behold, here's Solomon, and he screams it right away. I found the witch. I got the witch. I found the witch. And that sets everything else in motion.
Bastard. But she goes along with it.
Yeah, she accepts defeat. I mean, Jesus Christ, what is she going to do at that point, If anything, the only thing that she had, the last thing on her mind was, I want to save the love of my life. And they make out this whole ceremony, and they're like screaming for them to confess, and she confesses, and she admits that, she did it, and Hannah was completely under her control, and it wasn't up to her at all, and, frees her from that burden by making everybody think that she was like under some sort of possession by her.
And this is where the music is starting to like well up and get bigger and stronger right before they decide.
Well, this reminds me of the way that they did this reminded me exactly like Lord of the Rings. Because like in like a very serious moment, like things stop and there's just like this, it's just very slow and sad and droll, and there's just this one light female vocal just like kind of singing out these notes.
I love it, though.
And they build on top of that, and it was just so dramatic, and it was very reminiscent to the Lord of the Rings movies for me.
I loved that. And then they take Sarah and they put the noose around and they pull her up. That looked rough.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They look like they gave no fucks. They just yanked her right up there. But I like how she had that speech where she just straight up was like, your curse will be your memories. Like you will be doomed and cursed by the memory of everything that you will ever do and everything your family has ever done. And then they explain how the body got moved by her friends, being the good friends that they are, and move her body to a more peaceful place. That was the first tie. I was like, oh shit, okay.
Yeah, I like that. See, that's the stuff that they come around. And they're the ones who put the rock in there, which I'm going to tell you right now, in 1994, that rock would have been a lot less legible, I should say, than what we've seen. So now we're back in 1994. What?
And they hit you good too. They just slap you in the face with all that. They're just like boom, 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 and you're like, oh shit, okay. Like get you all geared up and ready.
I'm so excited.
Like, could you ever imagine going all the way around one time on a whole roller coaster ride, and you think you're going to be done, and then they're like, nope, one more round, and you're like, what the fuck? And they just shoot you off.
And it was done perfectly, because that's a perfect example, Joe. That is a perfect example of that. And like I said, at that point, I paused it. I'm like, how much time do we have left? Because I remember when I first watched it with Cameron, I was just like, wait a minute, what? How this can't be long. Everything's going to happen like right now.
Yeah.
Like right in these woods. And I paused. I'm like, oh my God, we have like 48 minutes left.
Yeah.
48.
Wild. Absolutely wild. So then you get right back into things. And now knowing everything that you know, the first person who pops back up into the situation is good old Sheriff Nick Good. And at this point, everybody but fucking Josh and Ziggy and, all these other people are the only ones who don't know. But we know, and Dina knows. And she hurries up because, he's coming and he's trying to talk to Josh and be like, hey, what's going on? Everybody okay? Like, and clearly going to fuck him over somehow. We'll never know what he was going to do.
Already.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I was going to say he's ready to go. He's gun in hand, locked and loaded pretty much everywhere he went for the rest of the movie, guns in hand, and he's ready to take care of whatever he's got to do to clean this situation up.
So Dina and Josh run down to the woods after this situation. They're trying to hide from Detective Good or Officer Good, and she places her shoes around the side of the tree, so when he comes around, he sees the tree, or sees the shoes by the tree, and they dip out. They go into, they take his car. They take his cop car.
They must have left the car keys for the other car that they came in, though.
Probably, because they get the car back eventually at the end. If you see, it's the one that they were driving at the very, very end. But yeah, so they get out of there, and Officer Good's just like, looking, his face is all like, this is going to be not fun.
Do you feel like they kind of led you into that? Or did you feel very, very surprised that he was the part of the line of Goods that were doing all this?
I was super surprised that their family, that was a whole nother twist that I was not expecting. I thought it was a whole Sarah thing. That's why I'm like, why is she being so mean? Like, she should understand, well, I guess she's dead now, but you know what I mean? Like, she should, I felt like it was very unfair to take it out on these people that really are good people, and to find out that it was never Sarah and it was always the Good chain.
Yeah, and did you notice that all the
family chain,
all the red moss and stuff, that only happened after she had died? All that red moss was was a Sarah signature
because they buried her. They buried her with that.
Yeah,
that on around her head. So then it kind of just kept on sprouting and growing.
Yeah,
and
So if they didn't make it look like fucking confetti, that probably would have been nicer.
Stupid. That's the one. That was my one thing I did not like.
But at that moment, after they kind of explained all that, I was like, oh, maybe, I guess they probably weren't showing, trying to give depictions of systemic racism and stuff like that. Like, that was the impression that I had got at first because of, the situations and how the two towns were depicted and how one was very clearly better off and was also very clearly, the majority was white. But it turned out that the reason why one town was so much better than the other was actually because of, the devil giving Good what he wants in return for giving the blood of a shady cider.
I mean, that's the beauty of movies and everything. You can read it however you want, just like art. Yeah. I mean, they can have more than one meaning. They can definitely have more than one meaning. Before I forget to, I didn't get to mention this earlier at the beginning of the show. The last two episodes, I kept on saying Shady Side and South Side.
South Side, yeah.
My bad. I Pittsburgh, we have both of those. So
corrections department.
My bad. It's so now I know it's Shady Side and Sunnyvale.
One thing I was like, holy fuck, there are so many names on that wall, and they barely even touched on all the names that were on that wall. That's the only thing that I would have liked to see was not only, why was there only a few of the killers that came back if there were so many names? You know what I mean?
That's what I was thinking too. I don't.
Obviously it's fine, but if it was this one last big onslaught, I mean, the Devil's Rampage, here we go. Why wouldn't it have brought out? Maybe it brought out the worst of the worst. But as far as it seemed like they continued with the ones that they had already specifically shown and mentioned.
Yeah, but then going back, I have this in my notes later, but I would like to I would have liked to have seen the pastor come back. Why wasn't he part of that again? He was creepy. That's where I was like, okay, this is where they're going to bring him back again, and at least get a little bit more.
Yeah,
it's
that's what I'm saying. You just got such a little bit from him, such a tiny little bit.
Yeah, and I don't know why. I mean, and then we have that little kid who's creepy, but even at the end, he doesn't do much. I'm like, he seems like a waste every time. He's always just in the distance doing nothing ever. He's never, except for that one bed scene where he hits the person on the head numerous times in the flashbacks. Other than that, he doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, he looks kind of creepy, and just smacking his bat off and stuff. Definitely fucking weird and creepy, but. Still, just didn't end up doing anything for me. So this CGI this time around with the heart the devil heart and stuff like that. How did you feel like that looked when it was like, which kind of made me feel a pit in my stomach too when they had the realization like, okay, well now that everything's in motion, now what? Like what's going to happen? Like they're probably going to all come after us now, and that definitely made me feel kind of sick. I was like, oh fuck, like they're going to have everyone coming after them. Just, if you thought it was bad before, it's only going to be 10 million times worse now.
Yeah. I mean, as far as the CG goes with the heart, it's the same. It's the same to me. I mean, I just forget about it. I'm just like, whatever. It's heart. It's heart's random. I think we could have done without. I actually think that when they were coming out of the ground, though, like the hands coming out, but this time I feel like the CG wasn't as good with their hands crawling out. It looked a little bit more like digitally shiny.
I was going to say it was very smooth. It was almost obnoxiously smooth. How crisp it was. It didn't. I felt like it looked good, but it didn't blend with the actual
surrounding
very well.
Areas, yeah. So I mean, whatever. That's forgettable or forgivable, I guess, because they don't do it a lot. But yeah, I like you were saying. I wish there was more monsters and more killers or whatever. More of these people we could have seen. But I'm glad we got to see some of the stuff we did. But before we get too far, we'll just, at this point, like you said, now they know that all these people, all these like killers are going to be coming after them now that they know the secret, as well as good is still after them. So they have all these people, and they're still normal people. So they do anything super bad, like you have other cops and stuff you have to worry about stopping them and stuff, which happens. They all end up. First. They try to get help. They go back to Ziggy's house, adult Ziggy's house, and they gather everyone. And then they still have the cop car, and they drive around, and they see, what's his first name, Martin?
Yes.
So they find Martin just smoking a joint on his porch.
Yeah.
And he sits up, and Josh is like, "You want to kill good?"
Urkel?
I know. Why do they call him Urkel? Is that just his nickname?
I don't know.
Yeah,
that's what he called him when he was still behind bars. He's like, "Hey, Urkel." It's like trying to get his attention and shit. That's what he called him. But I love that they brought up the card to the camera. Like they had a close up shot of his business card. And because you were like, I have a feeling he's going to be coming back. You said that in the first movie. You said, I have a feeling that's going to come up. He's going to come back for some reason. And I was like, how the fuck? Why? Where is he going to fit in at all? But he did. So, he ends up, since he knows about the mall so well, you know what I mean? Dude knows the ins and outs of the mall and how those gates work and
he
stuff.
He can get in and out whenever he wants. He has keys.
Yeah. So he ends up being a very useful resource for them.
And they explain.
I'm surprised he's not freaking the fuck out more, though. This would probably be so random to him.
Absolutely. I was wondering the same thing. Yeah. Well, not even that long. It's only been like a day or two that this has really been going on. Feels like forever, but Martin, he was just like, explaining all this stuff about like closing these gates and stuff and locking them up and everything like that. And, they know what they're going to be pretty much doing. But then when they start getting into more detail, like when Ziggy's saying the different things or whatever, and he's like, wait, you guys really want to do this? I'm like, well, why would you even have driven there? They have the cop car. They're going through all. Like, I don't think they were joking. Like, I think from the beginning that they were serious.
That it took up until the point where they showed him Sam, for him to like start actually getting that it was real. So,
she's all like monstrous and demon-like, and he's just like, oh shit. So they're all in. They're getting shit ready, especially after. I love how they have like Martin finds the spray cans. He like puts two and two together that the spray cans when Officer Good was just like, yeah, these aren't yours, they're mine. Like thinking like he just stole them. Like the way he talked, he was making them sound like he just took them back. Like they took him from Martin for like just because he had them kind of situation. Like how cops would do, like taking the evidence, whatever. But really he was like, yeah, no, these are mine. And then Martin's just like, oh shit. He's the one who sprayed everything and blamed me. And yeah, this son of a bitch is going down. So everyone starts getting all this stuff all together. So we have, first off, we have this knife that Dina has that she cuts her hand again with, which I don't understand why they have to cut your hand, but the cut in the hand.
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh, Dylan's going to love this. They even like take their time with it. They like zoom in on her hand, and I'm like, oh, they're doing it just for you, Dylan. They're doing this just for you.
It looks so it's so painful. Why there? Why there? Anywhere else, just not whatever. Well, not in the face either. But
I thought it was funny too. Just a little bit before that, how Martin was like talking shit on CD players, and like those in the store, and he's like, it skips if you breathe on it. I laughed so hard at that.
they used to do that shit too so much. I remember that back in the day. So Sarah cuts her hand, bleeds in this bucket of water, so it dilutes it a little bit, and they also put like glow in the dark like paint or whatever, so they can see it when the black light comes on. They do the glow in the dark spray paint and the glow in dark everything, and and then they shut off all the lights and turn the black lights on, and it looks cool. This set looks really cool. I love the mall setting, like just being able to be in that big mall and just doing all this stuff, whatever they want, and it's neat. So they're all getting ready with their squirt guns and stuff full of Dina's blood, and pretty soon we hear a door open and close, and you're thinking, is it good? Is it one of the killers? Who is it? And then pretty soon it ends up just being one of the cops.
That fucking dead jerk cop.
The one
the
from
dumb cop.
the first one where he was just a fucking asshole.
Annoying. Yeah, sitting at the desk being annoying.
Yep. And then the other group. So who's together? So we have Josh and Dina are together, correct? And then Ziggy and Martin are together. And so those two groups are together, and then both of them get caught by the cops. But not for long, because right behind the one cop is the milkman, and he kills him. Kills so the nasty cop dies. And then Martin freaks out and starts screaming. So the other cop's like, oh shit, what's going on over here? So the other cop runs down there, and he also dies. That milkman is he's a punch face. Like, I want to punch him. Like, I want to punch him right in the face. He irritates me.
Wasn't it so weird when he was doing that licky shit? Like when he grabbed
licking.
Yeah,
Yep.
just like licking and shit.
It's just his face. He's always just like,
yes.
I don't know. He has this weird like face thing going on. Like, he's always like smiling, and it's weird.
It's like got his mask glued to his face, and then he got Botox, and the mask like lifted with the Botox that he got put in his face.
That sounds so uncomfortable, but it probably is actually more uncomfortable for the fact that I'm assuming he's burnt is what that is.
I hope that it is, because it was uncomfortable looking at him. But now we're back to those moments again where, it's super creepy, and you're just kind of sitting there waiting while you let the killers walk around and hope that they follow the trails and don't do anything. It works every time for me. Yeah.
That's so creepy. That really got me, like, every time. And if I was Martin, I would like,
Yeah, no thanks.
No way. I'm out. Like, I'm not going to sit here and maybe this guy won't kill me. Because to me, I'm just going to think these are real people. Like, why wouldn't he kill me? I don't care what you say. Shit's really going down now. I'm scared.
Like, don't worry. They'll just walk right past you and be like, yeah, I'm sure you're just saying that to get me to fucking stay here. I was going to say that another thing that actually creeped me out too at this point is when they noticed that when Martin notices that it got really quiet.
Yeah. He's like, oh, wait a minute.
Well, at first, he makes it very not quiet. He's like, it got quiet. and you just notice and the first shot is on the milkman just staring creepily with that stupid shit grin on his face, and they realize that the master is coming. Sheriff Good is on the way. His presence is close. Something about him still didn't really have like this demonic aura. You know what I mean? Like, it was creepy that all these, in the moment where all the dead monster creature killers were like drawn to the silence of respecting his presence, but at the same time, I wasn't creeped out by Nick. You know what I mean? I wasn't scared of Nick at any point. Did you ever feel like you were afraid of him? There's just
Good never scared me.
Yeah, at no
never
point
scared me.
like that was the most intimidating thing about him, was that the fact that the killers like responded and respected him. Other than that, I like wasn't creeped out by his presence or him showing up at all. This is pretty much now, since Nick's here, Ziggy's going to meet him at the tree. And
I love that, because in the tree is a bucket of diluted Dina blood that Ziggy pulls, and like it goes all over Officer Good, and I love that because that's like a tie back to 1978 when they did that with the other girl and the whole Carrie thing, and they actually did that to him causing now all these. They open all these doors now, and all the monsters are starting to all the killers are starting to come after Good. And I think who stabs? Doesn't Good get stabbed by one of the killers?
Yeah, he ends up getting fucked up by the actual first killer that we get introduced to, the Skullface killer. He comes up right behind him and fucking stabs his ass.
That's right.
He definitely, I'm surprised he had such a big soft spot for Ziggy that it actually distracted him like that, though.
I know. Especially because it's been so long since they actually had that connection, because she's always been pretty much at home. But I love how, or I don't love, but I feel bad for Ziggy because she starts to get attacked by the Milkman again, just like she did back in 1978. Yeah, and he's licking her face and shit. And he's licking because, one, his tongue's out, but he's getting some stuff because there's some of that glow-in-the-dark blood in his mouth. It was gross. I seen it.
And she probably wasn't expecting him to do that either. After they took the shot, he's like, "Oh, Jesus Christ!" Sorry, I was in the moment.
So yeah, everything gets kind of crazy. Everyone starts, getting out and about. All the killers are getting out and going after everyone. So eventually, Ziggy gets free, but she has to take off that sweatshirt because she got some of the blood splashed onto her. So she threw that down. They all went into one of the doorway, or one of the mall stores, and closed that. Great. But by the way, what'd you think about when Ziggy had to close the grate on Thomas?
Yeah, I know. No, that was intense. That was actually intense too. That was a moment where I was like, shit, okay, that was effective for sure. Usually something like that, I'm like...
That door's come into play twice like that. Because it happened in the beginning too, first movie, and then it happened again for that, yeah.
Yeah, and especially because of how quick and aggressive he is too, you just already know how he is. So the last one that besides the Skull Killer, he's the last one that you really want to give the opportunity to be able to get at you. It's very strong, very fast.
The only thing I didn't like about that part, once it pulled down and he went to hit at her with the axe, and it looked like he almost hit it was the grate was like a wall, like a dead wall, where he almost stopped. I'm I wish that grate would push forward a little bit more, and her head would have slammed back more, out of the way. Just missed,
Yeah. Apparently those fuckers are strong.
So Dina cuts herself again at this point and tries to make fresh blood. So yeah, because they were going after everyone else. So Dina cuts herself and runs away and goes under the mall in the grate, just back in the day, back in 1978, the grate, or the hole for 1666. So she goes down in there, which would lead to, we'll just call them the caves, I guess, where the witch's circle is and stuff. And she goes down in there.
Did you feel creeped out in those moments where Dina got separated and was looking for Nick, and it was in that red room, the red lit room, and the light kept on coming on and off, and it was super quiet and creepy in there?
Yeah. Oh, wasn't that when the alarm was going off?
Yeah, there's a little sound going off in there. That spot really creeped me out when she was just first in there and that light was coming on and off. I just felt so uncomfortable. I mean, it ended up leading to nothing. It was just there to make you feel creeped out. But once again, it was something that worked, that made me feel uncomfortable, but it didn't really lead up at anything. It was kind of it ended up being a reversal moment where instead of Solomon chasing after Sarah, it was Dina chasing after Nick Good. So it was kind of that,
because he's already run away at that point.
It was a very juxtaposed situation. Yeah.
So then I love how this is one of my favorite parts out of all of the whole every movie. This is my one favorite part.
Any dream that you would have ever wanted to see, I was thinking it, but I never thought that it would have happened.
Nope. The Ziggy and the rest of them spray all the monsters all the killers with Dina's blood, and then they all start to attack each other and try to kill each other. It was so epic, so fucking epic.
Hell yeah, because I was like, oh my god, I was actually started rooting. I started rooting for Skullface because I really wanted him to.
Well, because that's what I thought was originally going to happen. I told Cameron, I said, I would be so cool if they just got. I thought they were going to originally. This is what I thought was going to happen. I thought all the monsters were going to end up, or killers were all going to end up at this mall, and they were going to try to defeat them one by one somehow, and that would have been it. Dina and all them, and then Good. But it ended up being we're trying to go after Good and the killers at the same time. But then what I wasn't, I told Cameron, I said what would be neat is if the killers would attack each other. Like instead of like, or like being a whole giant brawl, instead of being like one by one trying to like get rid of them, just have everyone just fight. And that's what they did. And I was like, holy shit, that's perfect. Perfect. It was better than what I thought it was going to be honest with you, because they did a little bit of everything. So it was so cool.
Yeah, that was actually my favorite part of the movie too. Was that scene there with all the killers fighting each other. I was not expecting it, and I got so hyped. I was like, oh my god, I need more fucking popcorn right now. Like I just want to this could be the rest of the fucking movie, and that's fine.
Oh, I love it. I mean, could you imagine if that was still connected like in the first movie? That would have been like a 10 out of 10, I think. That would have set that number from a 9 to a 10 for me, I think.
So that ends up panning out pretty well for them because they all drop dead, and it gives them a moment of peace. And so they're like, okay, what are we going to do now? How do we continue? And they're like, well, they're going to get up eventually. Like, they're not going to be down forever. And they check the squirt guns, and they're all out of the fucking blood. So they're pretty much, they're kind of fucked. And it was pretty quick and easy for Martin and Ziggy, even, especially surprisingly Ziggy, to just give up hope like that and just kind of leave Josh to, take the chance himself. And the two killers that we did not see this whole time finally show up, which was Bobby, the little bat boy, and Ruby. Good old creepy singing Ruby. And Josh kind of really puts the pedal to the metal and decides to say, you know what, I'm going to grab this axe, I'm going to do it. He ends up getting totally messed up. Like Ruby grabs his face and shit and is like stretching his face out. That I actually thought that was funny. Yeah, he ends up breaking his arm and shit. It was wild, but it was cool and unexpected that Ziggy just popped her one right in the head. I was not expecting that at all.
I didn't like what she said though. I thought that was kind of like I forgot. I don't even know if I wrote it down. Something about. I didn't write it down, but yeah, she popped it like she shot Ruby in the head, and she just said something about, well, that one's not moving or something stupid. I'm just like, you could have just been more like, holy shit, or whatever. Yeah, I don't know, something.
We forgot to mention, but they came back with the Konami code. Up, down, down, left, right, B-A, start.
I hate that you know that.
Which was like a extra life thing.
I hate that you know that.
Yeah, man. That's, oh my God. That's like a code that was used for a lot of games back in the day. I was so mind blown that he even said that. I mean, of course she was like, you're such a nerd, when he was like trying to be sentimental like that.
First off, that was just his way of like, he is kind of a nerdy kind of person, but that's his way of like, hey, trying to like be sincere and like try to like help. But the Konami, like, that's what's crazy is Konami's still like a big name. Like that's tied to like, Silent Hills and stuff like that. And I think slot machines and stuff.
Hell yeah. Huge games that are still being made and shit.
So anyways, the killers start to form together now. They're starting to get back to life, and now we're back at that point. While they're coming back to life, Officer Good and Dina were back with them in the caves. And
it's like the final fight, final boss.
So, yeah, this is like the last fight, and all like somehow when did Officer Good get the knife? Did he always have the knife in his hand?
It was after what happened was, remember, Sam gets loose, and they see Sam get loose, and they see Sam run in to following Dina.
That's right, I forgot.
Yeah, but that was when all the killers were rising, and that's kind of when, after Sam attacks Dina, while she's attacking Dina, she ends up losing her knife. Ends up getting, taking care of Sam, but when Dina tries to go to turn around, that's when Nick's like...
When you say taken care of, hits her head against the wall, so she gets knocked out again for like 80th time.
I know, yeah, just keeps getting knocked out. Yeah, it's just how we deal with her at this point. And that's when Nick is like looking for this, and he has the knife, and he fucking stabs her, and I wasn't expecting her to get wounded either. I really wasn't. I thought she was going to get out of this clean. But yeah, she gets stabbed, and this knife's pretty thick.
They're all, they kind of do a little fight back and forth a little bit, and then, like Joe was saying, Dina gets stabbed, and she forces Officer Good's hand onto, onto the heart? Is that what it was? What did she force his hand onto? Okay. Yeah, so the curse this is a curse that Sarah actually did put on the Goods family, is the memory of all of this, which is the truth will be your curse. So he gets the truth, and that's when he puts his hand on there. Everything comes. It shows all like a cool montage of all the people who have died, like all the deaths that we've seen really throughout the films,
and dead Sarah too.
And then it shows the actual people there too in the cave dead, and it's just like they all look cool and creepy. And then the last one you see is Sarah, and she talks to him and then stabs him in the eye. And then when oh, it looks so good, it looks so gross. And then he falls. Officer Good falls, and I think we're on the back view of him, like the back of his head. And he falls, and when he falls, it actually shows Dina standing there with a knife. So Dina's actually the one who killed him, but Officer Good's seen Sarah talking to him, killing him. And
which
then
I feel
all
like
of a
is
sudden,
definitely a just way to conclude.
Yeah. Oh,
the
yeah.
good line. You know, it wouldn't have felt the same to not be able to actually see Sarah follow through with, after getting this big long story from her as to why this all started. You know what I mean? It definitely, that would have been a huge knock at them if they wouldn't have had her be a part of Nick dying for sure.
Yeah, the good chain being done. So all of a sudden, as soon as he dies, poof, all the killers that were going to be coming after Josh and Martin and Ziggy they all died. They all just turned into flies. They all just poofed into little flies and flew away. And
Poofed into flies.
poof. But yeah, so they poof, fly, and they go into little flies, and now Sam is all good now, and she's awake. She's no longer possessed, and Sarah.
Circle closes up, blood goes away, names go
all the
away.
names go away. Dina lifts her shirt and rips off a whole bunch of taped Fear Street books to her
book
chest.
body armor.
And that's what, I love that it was Fear Street. It's so funny. And that's what saved her from dying. Saved her from getting
that
stabbed.
initial stab. So she ended up actually leaving scotch-free. Just as quickly as all of this started, it kind of felt like everything abruptly ended. I mean, I don't know how any other way that things just kind of have to. That should be the conclusionary point of everything, where it just kind of drops off. But it just felt like it just went away so quick, and maybe that's just my feelings. I don't think there was anything wrong with it, but it just was like, oh wow, it's really over. The killers were gone, Sam's fine, everything's closing up, everything's going away, and it's like, okay, well, I mean, this is pretty much it. So you pretty much enjoy the ride of watching out, the rest of the movie.
So yeah, so I love the ending. I love the tie between all of this. Like everything just ties together well, like 3 films worth. But when everything's over and all the names disappear from the walls and they try to make their way out, for some reason they don't go back through the mall, which I don't understand why or how, but they now are outside. They go through this doorway and they're inside of this person's really nice house.
Oh, it's Nick's house.
That's Nick's house?
Yeah, that goes to Nick's house.
And why is it daytime? It's daytime now. It must have a lot of stuff happened between the sunrise,
Yeah, they must have been in there for a while. They must have been in the mall for quite a while.
Then this is my question. Well, first off, I love that if this is Nick's house, I wasn't sure if it was the mayor's house or Nick's house. Either way, they walk in there and it shows the goats and stuff on the wall, signifying the devil and possession and worship and all this other stuff. And
and that family tree thing.
Yeah, and a cool family tree showing you how fucked their whole family was, how much shit they've been causing this whole city. All of those people on that wall that you've seen on that tree, and then Sam and Dina leave that house, and they're in this freaking nice neighborhood. I don't see them all anywhere. I just see a really nice neighborhood full of really nice houses.
Oh yeah, so somehow they did. Okay, no. So they did get to somehow they walked all the way. That's so confusing. Yeah, I don't understand how they got all the way to, because they took that long bus ride to get to Sunnyvale.
Yeah, I don't.
So somehow they walked
to that place. That long bus ride could have just led to the football field, but they might have been on the outskirts of Sunnyvale. But either way, I don't see them all. All of a sudden, they're just leaving this person's really nice house, and then across the street is a woman and a man, and the guy's about to get in the car, and he's looking at them like something's weird, something's up. Who is that guy?
Yeah. I don't recognize them. I don't think that it was just somebody who lives in Sunnyvale.
Well, why? Oh, okay. So you're telling me now Sunnyvale is now falling apart by not having him
right. That's what that was,
and that's why he got.
Yeah, that's
hit
what they said in the
with
news. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. It was the second they got out, and so that's how they signified that things are not good in Sunnyvale anymore.
this is why I love talking about these movies. I think more about them now, and you catch things that I might not get. Wow, that is
Wow.
so cool. I thought it was the mayor. And he died because wasn't the mayor also good?
Oh yeah, it was his brother. It was
Yeah,
Nick's brother.
because the family tie still goes. Technically,
Maybe that's who that was. I don't think that's who that was.
But that's the thing. If it was, then whose house were they in? And why was he looking at them like? If it was, say it was Officer Good's house, why would he look at them like, oh, what are you guys randomly doing there? Hey, I'm sure he would have been like, what are you guys like going over or saying something?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was just a random resident, but that had to have been Nick Good's house for sure.
Okay.
I just don't know how the hell they got all the way there.
Yeah, that part's a little annoying, weird, but yeah. So now go with the breakfast.
Yeah, so Dina tries to be a nice sister and makes her brother breakfast, and it's like this shitty burnt pile of pancakes, and he's just like, thanks, but no thanks. That's some haggard shit right there. No, thank you. And it just kind of goes through, and everything just kind of feels normal. She drops him off at school. They have this nice little memorial sign up that has all the names of the people that went. You can hear on the news that they did claim Nick is actually being the one who was behind all the killings and stuff like that, and he gets exposed. And they're talking about how Sunnyvale is on the way down, and it's not the most perfect place in the world anymore. And it just kind of leads up to the moment where Dina and Sam finally get their little happy moment together, and she says, "Oh, you actually brought cheeseburgers," and they actually decided to go where where Sarah's body was buried, and they wanted to. Why did they go there again?
They like wrote like the first Shady Cider. And wrote her name there.
I see.
Pretty much like marking
Yeah,
her
okay.
actual like, this is now your burial. This is your tombstone at this
Yeah.
point now. Finally, everything's at rest.
And one thing that I forgot to say, back when they were leaving and everything was changing and the killers disappeared and the names on the wall were going, I just couldn't believe that they fucking left the book sit there. Like, that's where all the problems started in the first place. If somebody gets their hands on that fucking book, shit can start all over again.
Well, that's what I think these cops, for some reason, or FBI agents, or whoever is doing these investigations, aren't cleaning up, because the same like with the first movie where like they left the masks and stuff there on the ground in the woods, and like clean this stuff. Like you should be taking that to evidence, especially that book. Like, why are you just going to leave it there? You have like a marker next to it.
That's small town cops that don't know how to deal with homicides, I guess.
I feel like that would be more than just a small town cop situation, but either way, first off, so we're we'll get back to that because that's the very, very end thing, because I have a question for you about the book and everything. But like going back real quick as we show the montage of everybody, right before we see Dina and Sam in the woods, when Josh is at school, he has his cast as Martin's trying to sell these like players, these music players, whatever.
Yeah, this radio
thing. Somebody signs his cast. You've seen who signed it, right? Yeah, Queen.
Yep.
Queen of Far and everything in between, or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, the one that he was chatting with at the beginning.
Why?
That even that came around full circle.
Yeah, but why? Why is that just a thing now? Do you think that's going to be expanded upon later? Do you think they're going to make another movie for that?
I think that she's the one who took the book at the end.
Okay, that was going to be my next question, because I got to talk to my brother DJ a little bit about this a couple weeks ago, and asked him who he thought it was as well who took the book, and he said the same person. He thinks that that girl is obsessed with them and their story, and she took it.
Most definitely. I 110% think that is her. Did you think that at first too, or not until after he said something?
I had no idea.
I'm
like, who the hell? Who in the hell would have taken this book? I really had no guesses. I'm just like, okay. And I thought maybe it was just like one of those like random cliffhangers that didn't mean anything or didn't have to go anywhere because there wasn't going to be like another movie. It was just like, oh, well, isn't that cool just to know that this is another possibility again, But I let's put it this way. We're at the end of this movie. We finally got to the very end of it. Finally, end of the series.
Yeah, at long last.
Of movies. I was so pleasantly surprised and ecstatic with how they turned out. I loved every single one of them. I loved the format of them, because it doesn't usually, you don't ever see movies like this. Like, oh, it was just great. I want to see Lee Janiak make some more films. I think she has a very great talent that needs to be shared. I want to see more things with her. I actually was listening to a podcast recently. The writer of this book, or writer of this script, they worked on this a few years back, like a long time ago, and it took them some time to like come around to actually filming it and everything. Like so now they're just going to start. Now that they actually have this product out, like they're going to just explode with more and more projects. And she apparently wants to make like a Marvel situation out of the Fear Street. Yeah, like a whole universe. I really do too. And I would like to see more on this movie too. More of these. Like the Fear Streets 94, 78, and 66. I would like to see that expanded upon even a little bit more too. But also maybe get other things, other movies from the Fear Street series.
Absolutely. So I was going to say, yeah. Hit us with your final thoughts, my friend.
So my final thoughts, again, with I think we should do this in two ways. I think we should rate the series as a whole, and I think this movie, now that we're done. So I think that like I said, I think this movie did amazing. This is, again, my second favorite out of the three, the first one being my first favorite. I love the way it tied together, and it was just so creative. It was so creative. And it always got me guessing and questioning, and always gave me what I wanted and more. Sometimes didn't give me certain things, but because it gave me so much more in other aspects, I was so okay with it. It was great. And there was twists that I was not expecting. There's so many different twists. I was like, whoa, okay, cool. I love this. Even watching it multiple times has helped, and talking about it. So I keep feeling like there's more to learn from this. And I bet you if I watched them all again, I'd learn more things. So I really like this movie, and I would have to say that I give this movie an 8 out of 10 empty popcorn buckets.
Nice. Very nice, Dylan. Those are some great conclusionary thoughts. I don't know why I always say it like that. I have no idea. I just love to say it. So yeah, my final thoughts on this film, my friend, it was great. It was just that perfect bow that tied this great gift that they gave us and just left it under the tree, waiting all night for us to open it and feel so great about what was put inside of it, which was everything that they've done throughout these three films. There's no better way for me to put it than the whole series in its entirety. The word is satisfying. The word is satisfying. These movies made my mouth drip. It was just such a great time. I enjoyed every moment that they spent building this story and building the background and taking you through these loops, but also, you know what I mean? Just handing you what you needed to know throughout, but still keeping you from things that helped everything linger in the best way that it could have to make a great three-parter. It's really hard to do that. I can't imagine how hard it is to make 3 movies back to back that come together as well as that did. I think that it helps them a little bit that there wasn't so much time in between all of the movies and that they were able to have all of the same people continuously working on those films. I'm sure that really helped tie everything together really well. But overall, this last movie was a great way to end it and a great way to bring it all together. And also a nice little, spin at the end that makes you wonder, am I going to get more in the future, or are they going to leave this part here? And that's always a good feeling to have. Sometimes, if you really want to keep people thinking about something for a while and keep that buzz going, there's no better way to do it than leaving a confusing cliffhanger that people will be talking about for probably years to come. So it was great to be a part of this experience. I'm glad that we were doing this while these movies came out. It's unfortunate that we had to wait this long to finally get around to finishing it up and tying this bow ourselves as well. So it'll be nice to move on. But boy, what a great set of movies, man. I am very fulfilled. I'm very happy. So I have to say, with that being said, my rating for this film is also 8 out of 10 empty popcorn buckets.
Yes, awesome. I love it.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yes.
Hell yeah. Feels good.
So as the three movies together, I like I said, I'll make it short. I loved it. I loved all of them. I thought it was very creative and gave me everything and more than what I did. I expected so much less and was given so much more. So with that being said, I honestly, as a whole, I'm going to give all three of these movies together as one giant movie a 10 out of 10 empty popcorn buckets.
I will be giving it a very, very, very solid and hearty 9 out of 10 for sure.
Yes.
For sure, man. So good. Great series. Great series. And it makes me so excited to know that it was so well received, and they are going to have the opportunity sometime in the near future to be able to keep hitting us with more. You know, I hope that this is something that we see, you know, maybe the popcorn. I didn't like my first popcorn. And building blocks for the rest of Leigh Janiak's career.
I hope that I hope that the crew and her can keep delivering at this level of awesomeness, I guess you'd say. I think because sometimes they start losing, like they're like, oh, okay, it's like the eighth one, you lose your money and this and that. But if you're gonna keep making them well,
Fast and the Furious.
yeah, yep. I didn't see the newest one yet, but I heard it's. But yeah, I think
Family, bro.
if I just hope that they can keep delivering these at the quality that they are now, and then it'll be good for everyone.
So this was great. I'm glad that we could get together and do this. I'm glad that we were able to put it all together and be able to meet today and get this shit done. I'm glad that, you know, we're both in pretty good health right now for the most part. Things are lining up, and hopefully things can continue. And we, as of right now, are looking good to kind of stay on schedule for our next episode coming after this, which for once we actually know ahead of time, so we can tell you right now live on air. So Dylan, why don't you tell our millions of listeners and Zack Snyder what we're going to be recording next?
Zack Snyder, shut the hell up. So we are going to be covering Sweet Girl. This one's going to be cool. This one's going to be a cool one to review. I did watch it already. It just came out this last Friday, so 8/20/2021. But this is exciting for me because I worked on this film, and I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too, man. I watched the trailer a couple times, and boy, those shots that they got of Pittsburgh, just the few that I saw, look so good. I think that's the best Pittsburgh's ever looked in a film. Hands down. I mean, I can't say for sure, but
that's what I told Cameron yesterday.
They make that city look. I mean, the city is beautiful, but they make that city look popping. They make that look like Los Angeles, man. Like they make it looks fucking beautiful.
Yeah, this is definitely a movie that you're going to want to watch, especially if you're from Pittsburgh or have been here enough. But before we continue, before we move on with anything else, is Fear Street 1994 still your favorite movie?
Yeah. Yeah, for me, out of the movies that we reviewed, Fear Street 1994 is still number one.
And I have to agree.
So anything upcoming, any personal stuff, anything that you would like to share with the listeners, my friend?
The only thing that's really coming up is, like I said, I'm going to be starting that new job on Monday, which is going to be cool. And just house hunting. Everything else is kind of film stuff for me, like personal film stuff, just has to be on the back burner at the moment, unfortunately, just because between this podcast, life, and work and everything else, it's just kind of busy. But I'll get to it. And I can't wait for you guys all to watch it.
Wonderful, man. Yeah, I'm excited to keep things moving along. I'm so excited to see you and talk to you again soon. This movie was great, man. I just can't get it out of my head thinking about that moment when Sarah was down in the depths with Solomon and she just gets that knife plunged in her wrist, and it just all the ripping and tearing and looking at it like that, it just drove me nuts. And the only thing that I could keep thinking about the entire time that I watched her hand get ripped off was that she only has one hand to hold and eat popcorn. And the worst thing that could possibly happen, and I'm sure that it's going to happen, is going to require for the rest of her life for everyone, while she's eating popcorn, to be standing around her, chanting the words over and over again, "Don't spill the popcorn!" So it'd be like Ilinde. That's your name in Pig Latin.
Oh. Okay. So what would yours be?
OJ
Simpson.
I didn't do it. Since I don't have any cards right now to do that with, I just leave a little note with every delivery after I drop it off, and I say, hey, enjoy your food. If you like podcasts, check mine out called Don't Spill the Popcorn on Spotify and other platforms. Have a great day. And then I copy that, and then every time I take a delivery, I just paste it and send it with the little message that I delivered their food.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that. That's probably better than, because you're saving money.
It's easier because when I never read the message when somebody, like when they drop my food off and they leave like the little picture and shit. I usually am just like, oh, my food's here, and I'm stuffing my face, and then I don't go to the app until I'm hungry again.
You're like, okay, I'll tip them after I'm done.
Usually, yeah. Because then, that's better for them. If I've ate, then it's more likely that I will leave a higher tip because I'm feeling in higher spirits. Popcorn! That's a nice long one. I like the long ones. Maybe a little sticky, like there's some sticky
Ew.
carnivorous, not carnivorous. I'm like trying to say cavern in like a more
Everything you're saying is gross.
Inside of my mouth is very wet.
Whoa! Oh my god! Oh my god! You're
right,
my
all
virgin
right.
ears.
All right. I'm sorry.
All right, I'm there. I'm with you. I'm there. Thanks for listening, Zack Schneider.
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry about the things that we said and that one time that Dylan dunked on you about your dead pixels.
Oh, I'm not going to apologize for the way I feel.
Ooh, see? Nice. There it is. Fuck yeah. Thank you.
But I can still
there
appreciate
it is.
stuff.
I got weak there. I got weak. All of a sudden under pressure, I was like, who is Zack Schneider? I'm sorry, Zach. I'm sorry,
He's
man.
listening.
Just right. Whoever has done wrong gets their, what did you say?
Comeuppance.
Comeuppance. I was gonna say curmudgeons.
Whoa. That might be a word. I don't know.
I think a curmudgeon is like just like something that someone would call someone who's being a little shit.
Let's hear it again.
Like curmudgeon. Like you're such a little curmudgeon. Like something that
Don't
they used to call
my kid that.
Right, exactly. Like someone used to call their kids that or something. I'm not sure. That's what it feels like. Comeuppance, you said.
Comeuppance is a real word.
Comeuppets.
Comeuppets and the Sesame Street Gang. How do you talk Irish? Give me a little example.
No. Nope. I have no idea.
No.
Accents are not our thing. Or at least not my thing.
Accents are not.
I was thinking that today when I was watching it. I was like, I can't even honestly judge these accents because I am so bad at them and bad at like recognizing what is a good accent. Like I'm just not very like culturally. I just don't have the knowledge to really have that ear to know when someone's dead on with a specific accent. I just don't know that shit.
Well, I'll just read it normal. Well, you're introducing the spoiler section.
Oh, oopsie.
You want to know something gross? You know how I find
What?
sometimes when I have to find Rousey's poop and she just poops?
Oh God. Yeah.
Like, I just look for the flies sometimes.
To follow the flies.
Yeah,
Yes.
I do, and it works.
They're your
Like,
guides. Gross,
They
but it
will
works.
guide you.